is All Fantasy Everything, the podcast where we fantasy draft anything and everything from the world of pop culture. On today's episode, we are auction drafting 90s action movies. Our guest today is the author, television writer, male model, bon vivant, just bon everything, Shea Serrano.
What's a bon vivant?
A bon vivant is just someone who I think who like sinks his teeth into life and takes a big bite, babe.
Yeah. I thought it was like a piece of candy.
Good liver in French.
Good liver?
I believe so. Like vivant isn't like lice liver.
Oh, liver, like one who lives well. Who lives well. I thought you meant like the organ of the body.
If you drink too much wine, your vivant is going to shrivel up.
Yeah. I had a vivant transplant. Anyway, I'm your host, Dan Carmel. With me, as always, are my friends and comedians Sean Jordan and David Morey. Let's get into it. Welcome to another brand new episode of All Fantasy Everything, the podcast that is switching up its format for today. Just to have a little fun. We have been doing auction drafts over on the Patreon for the last few months, and we have been having so much fun with it. And we were so excited that Shay was going to be on the podcast that we wanted to just switch it up a little bit, do an auction draft here on the main feed. Just because I think the topic lends itself well, and so people can kind of see what's going on over on the Patreon. Sean is Jordan on Twitter, Sean Cougar Mel Jordan on Instagram. You're here.
I'm here.
You're excited for action movies.
Yeah, man. We'll talk about what constitutes a porn film in a bit, but before we do that, I will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, August 18th and 19th, Comedy Corner Underground. Please come out. I love your city. I love being there. Thrilled to do it. And then I'm recording an album October 29th, Portland, Oregon. There are like 80 tickets left, I think, so scoop them up. It's months away. They're going to go quick. First show sold out real quick. Other than that, man, just chilling.
Are you trying to buy your boy the limo driver from Minneapolis?
Dude, if that guy showed up, man, yeah.
With his stretch 300C that he drove us to the Vikings game in?
With his DeLorean doors where he was playing Sister Christian, I was like, I get in, I was like, it's pretty loud. He goes, what did he say? He's like, it's gonna get louder or something.
Yeah, no, he said something about the music. He's like, oh, it turns.
Yeah.
It was Sister Christian, and he let us drink in there. It was real fun.
He had his murdered out Vikings jersey. He had his Vikings Raider jersey on, you know?
Yeah, it was a black and white Vikings jersey.
Yeah, man, it was. And then David and I met the mascot.
Definitely invite him and the mascot to the show. You gotta get him out there.
You guys tell him, I'll bring him up on stage.
David Morey is here, Cool Guy Jokes 87 on Instagram. David, where can people see you?
Bring David a Plate tour. Go to bringdavidplate.com. Birmingham, Alabama, Asheville, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Raleigh, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Denver, Indianapolis, Morgantown, West Virginia, St. Louis, New York City, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Minneapolis, and if you're lucky in the Bay Area, maybe I come and I do a show in San Francisco and I record it and try to sell it to people afterwards. Who knows what could happen the first or second week of November?
Who knows what fate, lies
anything
before
could
you.
happen in that city. But bringdavidplate.com, go get tickets soon, come see me again. It was really good.
Are there any strategies for these people cooking it? So David is doing a tour where the scene is the people coming to see him do stand-up comedy also bring him a plate of food.
Well, they send me a picture of the plate first, and then I pick the winner and eat it in that city.
Are there any angles that people can take that you think will give them better? Like, is there anything you're looking for on these plates?
I mean, exciting and weird is really where I'm going. If you have like a vegan soul food situation, or you have some crazy shit, or like something real local, if you're from some country I don't know about, and you got some kind of real local dish, that's always gonna be top tier. Something your grandma taught you how to make is kind of what I'm looking at.
That's a good move.
You're looking for novelty, you're looking for quality.
I want the kind of thing that you open the tinfoil and you're like, oh shit. I'm so glad they made me a plate.
Fantastic. I'm your host, Ian Carmel, at Ian Carmel on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find my tour dates, Linktree, linktr.ee/Ian Carmel. I'm going to be in Portland with Sean Jordan, Kyle Kinane, Shane Brendan, Imani. We're doing a benefit show for the Crayon Kids Children's Theater, August 15th. It'll go on sale tomorrow, and you can get your tickets on all those socials. All the money going to this children's theater, really good cause. So that'll be a lot of fun. You can see me at High Plains in Denver.
Yes.
I will be in Vancouver, British Columbia, with Sean Jordan.
Yes.
November 30th through like December 2nd, something like that. And then I will be in Austin, Texas, at the Vulcan Gas Company, December 8th and 9th, celebrating Hanukkah with the beautiful city of Austin, Texas.
Known for its Hanukkah celebration.
Known for its Hanukkah celebrations.
6th Street, Hanukkah on 6th Street, bro? Oh, that's a start.
I'm going to be lighting Joe Rogan's head on fire 8 nights in a row. It's going to be fantastic. Right there.
Not a lot to burn up.
They probably have good brisket, right? That's do people eat brisket on Hanukkah?
Jews and the Texans can come together for sure. I mean, Shay, you're from right down the road from Austin, right? San Antonio?
About an hour away.
And the brisket is good, confirmed?
Brisket is delicious. You're gonna love it.
We're going to be fucking up some brisket in Austin on Hanukkah. Our guest today, returning champion, Shay Serrano.
Defend the bell, baby. Defend the bell.
Will you protect this house?
What was it last time?
Oh, God.
We did stretch runs for actors to like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's a good one.
That was a lot of fun.
Creator of the Halfway books, House of Literature, author author of basketball and other things, author of movies and other things, just creator of so many things you like, some of which we can't talk about right now because of ongoing labor disputes, but go seek out Shay's work. Shay, what do you want to put people on to right now?
I have a new thing that just came out. It's called the Action Hero Scouting Report. And it's very similar to the way that they do a scouting report for basketball players. You know, this basketball player is good at this and bad at this. And in this situation, they tend to do this. And in that situation, they tend to... It's that. But instead of basketball players, it's action heroes. And there you go. That's the whole idea. It's 27 of them all stitched together into one... It's about a 105-page book. You can get it at halfwaybooks.com. It's the only place to get it. No bookstores, no Amazon, nowhere else. Halfwaybooks.com.
Cut them out.
On some Master P, cut out the middleman type of shit.
Pop in the trunk.
Hell yeah, dude. That's sick.
Yes, yes.
This will eventually lead to you playing in the summer league for the New Orleans
For the
Hornets,
Toronto
right?
Raptors.
For the Toronto Raptors, yeah.
I really want to, yes. That's the goal of all of this.
One of your kids is going to go to USC, piggybacking on with like DeMar DeRozan's kid, right? That's how this is all going to pan out.
In my best dreams, that's how it goes, yes.
So go to halfwaybooks.com and get that. It's fantastic. Much like every other scouting report, will the Portland Trailblazers figure out a way to mess this one up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna be, they're going to have access. They can pick John McClain, and they go straight for fucking Chance Boudreaux from our target.
Oh my God.
Oh, that made my tummy feel weird. I haven't heard that name since I saw the movie. Holy buckets.
Yeah, dude.
Incredible.
Well, speaking of which, today we are auction drafting. That is why we've come together. We are going to auction draft 90s action movies to celebrate Shay's new book. Now, for those of you who don't know how the auction draft works, the four of us will each start out with $100. We will take turns introducing a movie to be bid upon. And then it's wide open. In the snake draft, once you pick something, it's yours. On this, you introduce something and everybody has a chance to bid on it and add it to their roster of movies. To make it even more competitive, we're doing 5 categories that we have to fill. Foreign, so this is a movie that has to have been made overseas. It's a foreign movie, or by an overseas production company, a foreign action movie. Domestic.
What if it was made overseas by an American production company?
Yeah, so I'm having trouble with it. I was having trouble last night.
I got some, but I'm just curious.
Okay.
Because one of the ones on my list is that.
Anything that I can even remotely talk about, I think. So, could it just be filmed over?
Could it be filmed overseas, but like with an American cast, American production
Yeah.
company?
I know you. You can't tell me that you know a ton of these.
You could have gotten a hold of me at any point between now and us recording this podcast. But let's definitely.
But this is the fun part.
This is the fun part. Okay, right.
This is where I look stupid.
Why don't you introduce it, and then we will reach a quorum together. Case by case. We will. You can introduce it onto the auction block, and we will figure it out together whether or not it counts. Domestic. Now that should be easy. That's a movie made here in the old good old United States of America, one of the capitals of action movies. Franchise. That is an action movie from an action movie franchise that came out in the 1990s. And then, not an action movie, but sneakily is. This is another one that's going to be up to people's judgment. It came out in the 90s. It's not rarely considered an action movie, but we will make the case that it is. And then a wild card, a slot where you can put any old action movie into that you want. Those are going to be our categories. We're going to bid from our $100 pools that we all share. And Shay, since you are our guest today, I think you should go ahead and take the first opportunity to introduce a movie to be bid upon. And we will do that right after we take this first short break.
This episode of All Fantasy Everything is brought to you by readstarwars.com/Rebel8podcast. You love Star Wars villains and the Inquisitors that have appeared in shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Rebels? Read about a Jedi's journey to the dark side in a new novel, Star Wars, Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, from the New York Times bestselling author Delilah S. Dawson. When the Jedi Order falls, an Inquisitor rises. Padawan Iskat Akars has dedicated her life to traveling the galaxy alongside her master, learning the ways of the Force to become a good Jedi. As the years pass and the Clone Wars engulf the galaxy in chaos, her faith in the Jedi wanes. When the Jedi Order finally falls, Iskat seizes the chance to forge a path of her own. She embraces the salvation of Order 66, and with each strike of her red blade, Iskat moves closer to claiming her new destiny in the Force, whatever the cost. You can enter for a chance to win a free copy of Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, at readstarwars.com/Rebel8podcast. Star Wars Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade is available for purchase wherever books are sold. This episode of All Fantasy Everything is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Listen, saving money is always important. I've never, nor will I ever, I can't imagine a situation where I have so much money that I just don't care about any part of it, you know? A lot of people, it's funny, I just heard this on another podcast, if you can believe there's another podcast that exists, but it was about how much people spend on like streaming services and subscriptions, and a lot of people are spending like $100 a month on services, you know, all the streaming services, Netflix, Disney, Prime, all that stuff. But when you start with something like ExpressVPN, you're able to cut back and save so much every single month, and we'll explain that. So all these streaming services like Netflix actually have thousands of more shows than you think. You just don't see them because they give you different shows depending on, you know, your country, wherever you're located. So what you see on Netflix here is completely different to, say, what somebody in Italy or South Korea sees. And when you're using something like ExpressVPN, or the ExpressVPN app rather, you can change your online location and you can access all that stuff. ExpressVPN has over 90 countries to choose from, so every time you run out of stuff to watch, you just switch to another country and unlock new shows. Come on, does that sound dope? Even if you don't understand the language, it'll still be fun. Right now, you could be watching any number of shows that are not on Netflix here. With ExpressVPN, you just tap a button, change the country to whatever you're feeling, South Korea, because that's where Taekwondo started, so obviously that's where I'm going to go. You refresh the page, shows right up, you don't need to pay extra for all those other services, you can just toggle back and forth between countries. And on top of that, you can use ExpressVPN to get discounts, services, you know, some that cost less in other countries. For example, if you get Netflix from Argentina, it costs a fraction of the price that it does here. So at less than $7 a month, ExpressVPN pays for itself and so much more. It's a no-brainer. So If you want a better way to get more shows and save money while you're at it, go to expressvpn.com/AFE. Don't forget to use our link so you can get these 3 extra months free. That is right. Again, that's expressvpn.com/AFE. expressvpn.com/AFE to learn more.
And we're back. Welcome back to All Fantasy Everything, the only podcast that has ever existed. This is it. If you enjoy podcasts, it has been All Fantasy Everything. The Splendid Table, that was us talking about delightful picnic food. We are auction drafting 90s action movies. Shay Serrano, it is your turn to introduce the movie that they did.
All right. I'm going to introduce, since we're struggling with it a little bit, let me just give you...
Yes,
let's go straight to foreign.
Yeah.
We're going to go straight to foreign. As soon as you sent me the list and I saw the layout, I said, all right, I'm going to make sure that this is the movie that I get for foreign. Directed by John Woo. His masterpiece. We, of course, know him in America when he showed up. He did Hard Target, which we were just talking about. That was his first movie that he directed in America, right? Wasn't that great, but very John Woo-ian. He tries again with Broken Arrow. That one's not that great. And then he finally does exactly what we were hoping he does in 1997 with Face Off. That's John Woo. John Woo did that, right? But before that, he was perfecting his skills in Hong Kong cinema. One of the greatest action movies ever. One of the greatest action heroes ever. 1992's Hard Boiled, starring Chow Yun-fat.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking incredible. He plays a clarinet enthusiast / police inspector with a drinking problem. All he does is talk shit and shoot people. That's all he does. And it's so fucking good. It's really great. John Woo, one of the greatest ever action directors. He invented the Kung Fu style that we all fell in love with when like John Wick popularized it in America. But he invented that. I think it was in 1986 with A Better Tomorrow. Is when he really started like, oh shit, this guy is really out here doing it. Perfects his style with 1992's Hard Boiled. It has to be.
It's such a good movie. It's so the fight at the end in the maternity ward.
There's like a 35-minute shootout at the end of the movie in a hospital. 15 minutes of which include our hero Tequila. His name is Tequila, by the way, because they saw him drinking tequila. His name's Tequila. For 15 minutes straight, he's shooting people while holding a little baby girl. She's probably like a month old, maybe. And it just, everybody went crazy when they did this in The Fate of the Furious. Jason Statham did it when he rescued Dominic Toretto's baby off the airplane. They're like, oh, that's crazy. He put like the ear muffles on a baby and whatever. This is that, but better, and like times 30. Again, there's a part in it where there's a bad guy sneaking around and he's holding the baby and he just tells the baby to shut up. And the baby shuts up. It's like, stop crying, baby, and the baby stops crying. There's another part when he gets shot while he's holding the baby. Blood splatters on the baby's face, and he's just like, oh, that's my bad, baby, and just wipes it off.
He just wipes it off.
Sorry, baby.
Sorry about that,
There's
baby.
another part, the craziest part. By this point, the baby is in. The baby's like, me and you are heroes in this movie. We're action heroes. Tequila's leg catches on fire from the explosion. He doesn't know how to put it out. The baby pees on it and puts the fire out. That happens in this movie. It's fucking incredible.
Asian biggies, man. Asian biggies.
When we did the Action Hero Scatter Report, there's a class of people, of characters who are like, this character has to be in there no matter what. Make space for them. Tequila from Hard Boiled is in there. We have to have it. There we go. There's your foreign.
How many dollars are you gonna start with?
It feels like it's got to be expensive because I don't think anybody else has any answers for this category. I want to defend it.
Feels like I'm the only one that doesn't fully have an answer, but
Okay.
maybe.
Well, then if it's just you, let me start with $15.
Okay.
15 of my $100. I'll spend 15% of my spending capital on this movie.
We gotta immediately go to $20. This movie it feels like a portal
Yes.
into the future of what action movies were going to be. Like you said, like John Wick takes so much from this. It's funny, and it was my first introduction. I mean, I guess it wasn't my first introduction to John Woo. I think my first introduction to John Woo was probably Mission Impossible 2. which I went back and have been watching the 2000. So it doesn't qualify for this draft, but I've gone back and started watching all the Mission Impossible movies, and that one is insane. There's a car race where the cars are like basically tangoing at one point. They're like pointing guns at each other, and the cars smash against each other and spin around in a circle for way longer than cars should be allowed to do.
And like that sideways wheels?
Yeah, but you just keep going. Like something Sean Jordan that you could be capable of as a 1% driver. But it is
Unpaid.
It is so. He's so great. He even manages to get like birds flying into a Mission Impossible movie, like one of the John Woo signatures, where there's just pigeons hanging out somewhere, and Tom Cruise walks through, and all of a sudden there's pigeons. But that movie pales in comparison to Hard Boiled.
See, now, my dad accidentally introduced me to John Woo when he was showing me the Jean-Claude Van Damme catalog, is what I'm finding out. My dad was like, he was introducing me to Jean-Claude Van Damme's maybe 9th, 8th studio film, and accidentally introduced me to John Woo, so I'm in there too. Let's say $21.
I'll put 22 just to be in there. I like my 4 bit. 22. I can get it.
Yeah.
All right. No, I want it. Give me 25.
See, now we have a man who wants something and a man who needs something. So this is where
This is one of the more competitive categories for a movie. Even with an expanded fee, I'm gonna take it to $30.
Ooh,
But that might be as open as my wallet gets. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you have it because this was all a ruse to get to the movie I actually want.
see?
oh shit,
This is what I like.
$31.
Yes. Yeah.
Even after the game was revealed, listen.
Well, dude, if Shay didn't say everything I was gonna say it all, but because I was a ruse on my end as well. But Shay basically said everything I was about to say about this movie. So yeah, $31.
Well, bro, if you put bait on a hook and I enjoy eating that bait, did I really fall for it? You know what I mean? Like it's all right. It's all right.
See, this is what happens over on the Patreon. Except Ian's he's calling me weird Irish slurs the whole time, and nobody really cares.
Absolutely. Well, I can get away with it as a friend of the Irish people.
Hard boiled, man. I mean, I don't want to show you my tattoo, but you get
Hard
it.
boiled. It's how I like my eggs. It's how I like my movies, and I'm gonna bid $32.
32.
Now, dude. Chow Yun Fat. I mean, where does he rank in the like Hong Kong? Shay, to you in the Hong Kong martial arts actors pantheon? Where is he?
He's royalty.
Yeah.
He's royal. He's in that class. He's so if you make like a pyramid, there's one guy who's at the top, of course,
Jackie Chan.
and then you start to go a little underneath there. He is in the level right before you get to the second level. You know what I mean? Like he's like a 90 out of before you get to the B's. He's an A, but he's a low A. He's an A minus.
He's low A. You can win it. You can win a championship with him, but he's got to have a lot of talent around it.
Yeah.
As
He's
we
got to
saw.
have he's got to have John Woo with him.
He's got to
That's
have John
the-
Woo, and he's got to have several babies. We're $32. Sean Jordan.
I know. I'm gonna tell you this as a friend, okay?
Okay.
I shan't be going any higher than what I'm about to do. Now I'm
Why
telling you that.
don't do that?
I'm telling you that because if you go higher, you're gonna have it.
Okay.
I'm telling you that.
Okay.
Odd strategy.
$33. Shay, I'm bad with money. I'm bad with fake money. I'm bad with real money. I got a lot of shoes. I got a lot of shoes out there that haven't seen the pavement yet.
Let's be fully honest with each other. How much of this bit is you just not wanting to get involved in another conversation about a foreign movie?
$33 worth, because that is my limit. And I will get involved, and we will hash it out, and people are going to think that you're actually upset with me if we do have to go down that road, because I got some weird shit on there.
I've been upset with you every day of my life.
You've been
Before I
upset
met
with
you, I
me,
was upset.
as far as I know, 2 times, both involving alcohol of yours that I drank that I should not have. So, and I was wrong both times, and I
I
apologize.
think You can take it down for $33. I think hard-boiled was all yours.
Damn, now I might as well throw the rest of my foreign list away, but whatever.
That was
dude.
big. That was
Yeah,
big.
baby. Yeah, baby.
That was a big play.
Who's
It's
next?
really- it's going to free up a lot of space on your hard drive to get rid of your foreign movie database there, Sean. Let's go. Let's go right to. I guess we have an order on here. Sean. It'll
We'll go
go
backwards.
Shay, Sean, David, Ian.
Duculars, bro. Alright. Let's go into domestic. This is, pound for pound, to me, one of the best, most iconic action movies. Not going to be able to sound like Shay when I talk about it, but it just has every single thing I want. It's just goofy enough for me to take it seriously. The dialogue is insane. The main villain, the shit he says, he has like 20 lines in there where like nobody would ever say that. Cameron Poe looking amazing
Oh, yeah.
in the tank top.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Taking down the Vegas Strip. Star-studded cast. It's got so many people in it. It's great. It's got my boy John Cusack, who I love.
It's wearing some business sandals.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's got so much
Big old
suit.
double-breasted suit.
Yeah, so much
Big
suit.
ass suit.
He's got room for the Lord in that suit.
Yeah, man. It's Danny Trejo's up in there, John Malkovich up in there, of course Nicolas Cage, no Con Air, domestic. And we're gonna start with a gentleman's $15.
Out of respect.
I gotta take it to 20 just because it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth the whole bag, baby. Every time it's on, it's just one of those, you gotta stop on it. His accent's just bad enough to be funny, but it's good enough where you're like, I believe him. He's all about his daughter. The shit Cyrus the Virus says is astonishingly bad. It's so good. We'll go, I'll take it myself. I'll take it to $25. I might just be on the sidelines for most of this draft, but I'm out here, baby.
Yo, wait, yeah, you just got. Damn. Alright.
I don't give a shit.
I can tell.
Wow.
It's a really good pick. This is I think my favorite Nick Cage performance in a movie. This is a role where nobody could have done with it what he does with it, which is be completely serious,
Yes.
but also like silly without ever winking at the camera. Like there's never a moment when he winks.
No,
You
even
can
a
feel
little bit.
like he's playing it up. I think if you look at this, if we look at like the history of action movies, what this movie is here, what his character is here, this is Rambo but silly. That's what this is. We took all of the like fun stuff from Rambo without any of the trauma that Rambo had, and we're like, there you go, go 95 miles an hour through a school parking lot, Nick Cage, and then that's what he did.
It boggles my mind that like they fight the whole movie basically to save this one guy. Like the whole movie, John Cusack's like, can't shoot the plane down. This guy's trying to get home to his daughter. And then they crash into the Las Vegas Strip and kill God knows how many people. I've been on that strip every hour that you can be on that strip at some point, and I bet you at the lowest level, 10,000 people died. Whole families. I mean, it's crazy at the end. But there's nobody on the
David, you were there on Christmas. It was hand on Christmas, right?
Not in the way that you want it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was packed in a bad way.
Yeah.
This
A lot of
movie is
people looking for the holiday spirit.
this movie is pure camp. This movie, like the
Oh,
way.
dude. He writes a message on the body and throws it out of the fucking plane to try to
He
get
turned Dave Chappelle into a post-it note. That's what he did. He turned Dave Chappelle into a fucking post-it note.
What about Steve Buscemi, the wackest looking but most terrifying villain you can get, saying not smart stuff? It's just so good.
You know who this genre of movies connects directly to? Will Ferrell.
He does seem like a Will Ferrell
It's
character.
a direct evolutionary line where it's like, I'm going to play something that is patently ridiculous with so much commitment and so much like passion for whatever this ridiculous thing is. Like they both have that. Like the Will Ferrell's best characters are these ridiculous masculine characters that are just a shade more silly than like these Nicolas Cage characters from the 90s, but it's the same formula. It's the same recipe. You know what I mean? It's like an ice cream sandwich and a sandwich are both sandwiches.
You know what I really liked? How that big dumb criminal could fly the plane. I like it when a big dumb dude can do something real dang. Oh, look at that.
She's got Con Air on VHS.
Hey.
VHS, man.
Woo, $10. That's pristine.
Swamp Thing, that's the guy's name who flies the airplane. Shout out Swamp Thing.
Yeah, dude.
What an incredible name. Also directed by Simon West. Simon West, who he did The Mechanic with Jason Statham. He did Expendables 2, I believe. Most famously, though, he did Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" music video.
Most famously now. Now the streets are talking about it.
I mean, he was on the set on Con Air. He's like, I'm directing a big budget Nicolas Cage movie right now, having no idea that this video from his past was just lurking in the undergrowth, ready to jump out and take his career in his theater. I got $26. Are there any other bids? Sean Jordan, you wanna?
I gotta have a couple bucks left.
I'll tell you this as a friend right now.
Oh, please, I told you so as a friend earlier.
If you go to $27 on this, I'll let you have it.
See? This is what happened, Shay. I'm weak.
I see. He's dangling it.
I know how much you love this movie, and just as a friend, I'm willing to get out of the game for $27.
$27.
He said that in the lowest possible font that you could have, like the small.
All lowercase, size 6.
Like I just lost a fight and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I meant to lose.
All right, take it down for 27. Unless anybody has any other bids.
Oh,
I
you didn't
got
even.
it. We got it.
I like Con Air. I don't necessarily want it on there, but I do think it's a great movie.
Oh, I mean, who we
It's a
talking?
perfect movie.
Of course.
It's a great movie.
This is so
Cameron
funny.
Poe is in the Action Hero Scouting Report.
I spent all my arcade money on the claw machine, and you guys are gonna be out here playing like actual video games.
He's got boulders. His shoulder game in that movie, by the way. He's got boulders out there.
He's swole up, man.
Yeah,
he
he's
looks
swole.
great.
Weird hair.
The hair, that sculling that he's got going on, the hair is.
It's so bad and awesome. It's like a superhero cape for his head. That's what it when I see it. That's what it's just blowing in the wind.
I accidentally killed a couple of people. Anyway.
David, it's your turn to present.
All right, I am gonna go franchise.
Franchise.
Start with franchise. I'm gonna take the 1995 hit. I don't know if it was a hit, but I love this movie. I'm taking Desperado.
Oh, dude.
Son of a bitch.
Okay. Now,
It's got everything I want. It's got a small town. It starts with a guy telling a mystical story. It ends up being his brother. They burn the bookstore. It's got everything I need in a movie. I love that his name is El Mariachi. I love that he has a guitar case full of guns that they pick up at the end, by the way, just in case. I'm taking Desperado, and I'm gonna start with $15.
That's great. I have a frame, like I have this blood and blood up on the other walls, a Desperado poster framed.
It's
I
like,
love that movie.
it's so good. It's my favorite one in that series. It's just so
It's the
good.
best one in that series. Can I ask a question about franchise stuff?
Yeah.
So with this one came out in '95. The one before it came out, before then. With regard to franchise stuff, if you draft a movie, do you get the entirety of that franchise?
I mean, I guess technically
Gary, why
it
not?
seems
Yeah.
like you should, right?
I mean,
Or
that's
do you
good.
only get rights to that one?
You only get the right. Oh, I see what you mean. Can you take a different movie from this franchise? So if somebody took, like, I'm going to take a movie that's, if you took the Fast and the Furious, could someone then take Fast 7 later on?
Well, because El Mariachi was
But
like 2
I
years
think-
before.
But I think
So
no.
you
I think
could pick
once a
them.
movie from that franchise is taken, I think that let's eliminate that franchise from the bidding.
Well, so what I'm thinking is, with Die Hard, for example, the
Yes.
original Die Hard comes out in 1988.
Yeah.
Arguably the greatest, most important action movie we've ever done, right? Die Hard 2 comes out in 1990. Die Hard 3 is 1995. If I were to pick Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is entirely underrated, do I also get credit for the Die Hard 1988
I think you get all.
championship ring?
Yeah, I think so.
No, you do not. You do not. You don't get credit for it, but nobody could play Die Hard 2.
Right.
This is still the only. I still got what I want.
But nobody. So I think
Kindness in this world.
you only get the
we'll
movie
see.
you drafted, but nobody can
Yeah,
take
yeah.
any other movies from that
Okay.
franchise.
Now, here's my question. I had this on my foreign films list. Would that have counted?
This is an American movie.
See, this is great that
Because
we've
there's
never get into this
Mexicans in
conversation.
Robert,
What a good
I see a
conversation.
foreign film.
What a good conversation we don't have to have.
Robert Rodriguez, also from San Antonio, right?
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez is a Texan, baby.
Yeah. Doesn't get more American than that. It's as American as brisket on
I also
Hanukkah.
love that Antonio Banderas is from like Spain. Not even
Yeah.
like, but it's fine. It's fine because he's cool. This is the same thing that happened when Selena was coming out with Jennifer Lopez, and everybody was like, "That she's Puerto Rican, she can't play Selena. Selena was Mexican." And then the movie came out, and she's fucking awesome in it. And then everyone was like, "It's okay. It's
Yeah,
alright.
right.
It's fine." Like if you do a good job, yeah.
Don't make a habit of it. Don't make a habit of it. But
Well,
just
that's how I
it's
just
okay.
found out Catherine Zeta-Jones is Welsh.
Yeah.
The girl playing Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is like Irish, not a drop of Jewish blood in her. But we all came together and we like gave her the A-OK just based on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's like she's Jewish.
If they do it, if they do a good job, you're good. You're square. You're fine.
Yeah, you're in.
Green light.
Happy to have you.
David, how much did you bid?
I've been 15.
Oh, let's go 20.
I'll take 22.
I'll go 25.
I'll go 27.
It is framed on the wall. Shay, you're giving me a good argument here. I'm going to tell my wife you're very successful and you have framed posters of movies that you like on your wall. And I'm hoping that's going to translate to the Jordan household.
Good luck.
I do believe this is this in your office, not your house, right?
This is an office 30 minutes from my home, so.
Maybe leave that part out, Sean.
I'll say that it's connected to your home like ours is, but office all the same.
31.
31.
Here we go.
People have scarcely looked more gorgeous in an action
33.
movie.
35.
This is like me with hard boiled over here. They just gotta have it. I mean, I understand.
Is he the hottest lead dude in an action movie?
He's very sexy.
He's so
I'm
sexy in
wondering
this movie.
if I want my other on the list enough to go. These are two categories I wanted to take. I'll go 37.
Wow.
See, it's fun to watch.
All right, give me 40.
Oh, you gotta
Holy
take it.
buckets.
You can take it for 40. I ain't got it.
Wait,
I got some
David,
other
before
stuff.
you let it go Google Antonio Banderas.
I know. I've seen the movie a bunch of times. Listen, also, Selma, looking at it's a sexy film.
Sexy.
The
I
cover,
just got
the
some
poster
other
probably
stuff that I want to do.
on the other side of the wall is probably the sexiest poster they got. When you said 40, Isaac's part went to the other side of his hair.
You did.
Here, I mean, this is a perfect movie. Listen, El Mariachi, the character, and of course Antonio Banderas, one of only 3 guys ever in history to wear a ponytail and have it look good. It's him. It's Eric Roberts in Best of the Best, and it's Danny
Oh,
DeVito.
shit.
Danny DeVito and Twins. Those are
Come
the
on!
only 3.
That's my guy!
That's it.
Eric
Not
Roberts
even-
and Best of the Best. My mom would. She wouldn't let me talk when he was on screen at Best of the Best. I mean,
Not even Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac wore a ponytail in 2008, Body of Lies.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't
God
do
bless
it. But
him,
El
but no.
Mariachi. These are all of the tests that El Mariachi passes as an action hero. Passes the good with guns test. Just a bar full of goons on his own. The good at hand-to-hand combat test. We watch him snap a guy's neck with one arm. He passes the good pain tolerance test. He basically gets surgery performed on him while he's awake.
he
And
does.
he's fine. He passes the very cool essence test. I think he's the coolest action hero we've ever seen.
Very cool essence
Oh,
test.
yeah.
The very cool backstory test. He's a heartbroken musician. Like, that's why he's mad, because he's trying to find the guy who's responsible for the death of his loved one. And then, oh, by the way, he runs into Salma Hayek, and now that's his new loved one. He passes the iconic imagery test. He has the guitar case full of guns. The plot twist test, which is the bad guy he's searching for ends up being his older brother. The unexpected superpower test. He hears people walking upstairs 50 feet away. Just waits. It's his supersonic hearing. He passes the doesn't look back at explosions test, the rage face test, the catchphrase test, the great friends test. He has friends. He makes one phone call. 2 guys show up, ready to fight to the death. No questions asked at all. The unexpected
that's
fun
right.
adversary test. Danny Trejo, fucking knife throwing monster in there. The Jason Williams awesome showboat test. He's in a gunfight for no reason, just shooting behind his back. When a normal gunshot would be better, he's just pa-pow, pa-pow, pa-pow. He passes.
Well, there's a reason. It's right here.
The morality test and the happy ending test. There was no way I was walking out. I would spend $99 to get this one. So I feel like
Hey,
40,
I'll take
I
it.
saved $59.
See, now that'll get you in trouble. That's some logic right there that I haven't jumped out with. But yes, that is how I think.
Let's go.
That is how it goes.
I'm on the board, baby.
Big players.
I'm on the board.
Big players.
Big players. Now there's another one. I mean, listen, if we're playing heavy hitters crew right off the bat, I have to introduce in the category of franchise, Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And out of respect, I'm opening the bidding at $20.
I'm taking it to 25.
Well, right now, question: we can with this wild card.
You
It's
got
not a.
$40.
Question, do I have to fill all 5 categories? We can put anything in our wild card, right? So like it's not like
Anything.
the one we did. Okay.
Any
So
old movie.
shit, I do only have $40, huh? 30.
30? Okay, great.
God, $40.
So first pair of Jordans, only pair of Jordans I ever had. Well, I wanted to grow up in. Whatever. Only pair of Jordans I had until a couple years ago. I got the day my grandpa took me to see Terminator 2, and I
That's a
remember
good
sitting
day.
in the theater. He had to talk me off the nuclear war ledge because I was like, wait a minute.
Good
I was like, I go, that bomb, she's on the fence, and now that bomb hit downtown, and what, I was like, what year did it come out?
91.
91? So that's 10. So I was just like, Grandpa, can that happen? And now I look back, and he's like, in his mind, he's like, I mean, yeah, but obviously I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to get you some Jordans instead.
Let me tell you about another explosion, and that is Michael Jordan exploding off the hardwood from the free throw.
I mean, this movie's so. I just watched it like a week ago, probably. It's just funny enough. None of it's corny.
It is
I don't know,
very
it all holds
corny.
up. Eddie Furlong's great.
No,
And the
it's
Hamilton's
bad.
so great, so buff.
Ian's bidding $35 just to keep that moving while we're talking. Fucking James Cameron.
Yeah.
And his. Also, I mean, I just watched Terminator 1 last night just to get me in the mood. Again, a movie from the 80s, but just to get me in the mood for this. To have Arnold come back.
Genius.
Come back. And just
Genius.
and like better than and now he's a good guy? Like in the 80s.
Yes, great movie.
So good.
So
That
good.
scene, 2 scenes. That scene in Terminator 2, the first time she sees him, when Hamilton sees him, is so
Yeah.
tense. Even though you know what's going to happen.
Terrifying.
And then the mall scene where the Terminators meet and Eddie Furlong's in the middle, where you see him, you're like, geez, what's going to happen? Because they're both Terminators. You don't know. Wow.
Also, the leap that oh my god, I just blanked on her name. We were just talking about that. Linda Hamilton makes from the first movie, and then she comes back in the second movie, shredded, dude.
Learn Spanish.
Shredded like a block of Parmesan, like looking like making a believable journey from like very scared like waitress who doesn't know what's going on in the first movie to the second one. You're like, I would follow this woman into the depths of hell. Would need to look behind me.
I don't know why they would teach her how to use a nightstick in the hospital, but they clearly did, because she was there since the first movie, from what I take it, and she had nightstick skills.
She went south, dude, at the end of the first movie.
She's great. In part 1, you're exactly right. In part 1, she's fucking made of sunflowers and feathers.
Yeah.
And then in part 2, she's a chainsaw made of razor blades. Like,
Completely.
did y'all watch the Arnold documentary on Netflix?
Not yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
So it came out. I was in the middle of working on this, or at the end of it, and I said, "Let me check out, see what's going on." Then they break it down into 3 episodes. The first episode is his career as a bodybuilder, and the second is as an actor, and the third is a politician. And during the actor one, he talks about before they went to shoot Terminator 2, James Cameron calls him and tells him, "Hey, let's go get dinner, me, you, and Linda." And Linda walks in, and she takes her jacket off, and he's talking about how just fucking ripped she is, and he's like, "This son of a bitch is more shredded than I am." Like, it's a great. It's what a great pick. Yeah, this should be this should be the winner of this category. Whoever gets this movie should win this category at least.
Yeah.
We mentioned Die Hard being maybe the greatest ever. If you're gonna make an argument against it, this is the movie that you put up against it. You know what I mean?
This, to me, might be the 90s-est. I know it came out in 91, so it's early in the decade, but still, like, it might be the movie, if not the 90s, at least the first half of the 90s. When I think about
I
it,
remember it.
I remember this coming out. I remember this.
I had driving.
I remember going to Subway and seeing, like, marketing for the first, and, like, realizing I was seeing marketing for the first time because I saw Subway T2 cups.
The dirt bike.
I had the motorcycle that he was on, and you could press the button and he flipped off.
Are those, is that, like, collectible?
These are Terminator 2 trading cards that I have in my office. Yeah.
That's
Fucking
man.
incredible.
Oh,
Yeah,
trading 2 Miles Bennett Dysons for an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And Budnick was in it, and
Budnick from Salute Your Shorts.
yeah,
Oh, that's right.
the arcade scene, Easy Money, like ATM were pretty new to me. I don't even think I knew what an ATM was. So like, motherfuckers getting money out of the wall.
Getting in the LA River, dude. Iconic movie.
I remember watching that the arcade scene and seeing the part where the T-1000 goes up to Budnick and he's like, "Have you seen this kid?" And Budnick, without even flinching, is like, "Nah, I don't know him." And then immediately goes and tells him, "Hey, that cop's like," I was like, "That's a fucking good ass
Good,
friend."
that's a
I want to
homie.
I want to be a friend like that.
Yeah.
That's a homie.
$35.
Also, the first movie, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure Shay, you could speak to it more, but where they use that like morphing technology or whatever, where they like would switch, or like he came out of the floor, that whole shit.
Oh yeah.
And it looks good today. Still
It does
today.
look good, didn't it? That's the James Cameron difference, man. Also, in the what 7 years, 6 years, 7 years between Terminator 1 and this movie, the special effects, like the leaps they made.
Oh, yeah.
In the first one, there's some of those scenes where where like Arnold's there with like this big fake Arnold mask on, and it looks corny. It looks bad. You know what I mean?
It looks bad.
And then fast forward 7 years, and you've got, you know, the Terminator the T-1000 walking through a chain link fence, and you're like, yes, I buy that. I buy that. I buy that 30 years later.
You need to up a sequel. You have an iconic first movie, and you need to up it with a sequel. James Cameron is who you call. He did it with Alien.
Yes.
He shows up with aliens. He does it here. Like that's that fucking dude right there.
That's the dude. When Titanic 2 comes out, you're gonna feel the ocean spray on your face.
Oh,
Titanic, dude, where
Wait,
it
is
puts
that
itself back together.
bidding on?
30, 35.
They even thought it was Titanic too, dude. Yeah.
Shit.
Shay, it's back to you to introduce a movie for betting.
All right. Let's see what I got here. Let me look at my list. Okay, man, I got a little excited. I was gonna ask a question here, some clarification. Jurassic Park, is that an action?
I think so.
I was
You
going
think
by
so?
IMDb, so like if you put it in, if IMDb called it action, I was kind of going off for that.
I mean, what are we saying the parameters are? There's not a ton of guns. Is that?
Yeah.
That's a good
There's a
call.
lot of
yeah.
running. There's a lot of jumping. There's action sequences in it, but I don't know if it's disqualified because it has
It's
dinosaurs.
fantasy and sci-fi.
There's also like murderous villains.
I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think so. Like, if we were looking at everything in a broad, zoomed out kind of way, we would say, oh sure, like compared to A Room with a View, yes, Jurassic Park is an action movie.
Uh-huh.
But we're like in it, right?
Yeah.
So we're like
Okay.
in it, like we're
Okay.
in. So like I think you could kind of put it in non-action movie.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, I
an
think it
action
goes
movie.
non-action. I think you can put it in non-action.
I think it fits there.
I don't
We're
think it
talking
fits
about art.
for domestic. Maybe wild card. Is that where you're trying to put it?
I was thinking mainly for a franchise. I mean, I already have my franchise, but I just want a clarification for as I make my way through this. I felt like we would handle it like that famous court case where the guy was like, "How do you know when it's pornography?" Like, and he's like, "You just know it." Like,
Well, I'll tell you, you throw something on, I'll let you know.
I can think of one show when I see it. There's
okay.
people fall over the floor.
Yeah, you just throw it on, and I'll be like, yeah, it's porn, or I'll be like, no.
All right. Let me go domestic then. Let me go domestic. Let me go with the movie that, for me anyway, has the greatest action set piece of any 90s action movie that we've seen. The most iconic moment. End of the movie. Guy has to save his girlfriend. There's only one way to do it, and that's to jump out of the airplane with no parachute on. Give me Johnny Utah, Point Break.
Yeah, man.
1991, directed by Catherine
Fuck
Bigelow.
yeah, dude.
It's a perfect action. It's perfect.
It's about to get expensive.
Perfect.
You know
Yeah,
what kills me?
yeah.
The remake is
Garbage.
such a bummer, dude.
It's real bad.
I just don't know why they had to do that.
Speaking of movies, like, I mean, some movies you want to, they remake them and it's like, all right, I saw why you wanted to do that. And maybe this is me being 38 years old, but if I go back and watch Point Break, I'm not like, I need this updated, I don't understand what's going on. I get it. It makes sense. Just take it, copy, paste, move it to now. You can watch it this year and it still rips. It's fantastic. What's the opening?
It's fantastic. $20. $20 is the opening bid. And from the
25.
moment it starts until the moment it ends. But you got Patrick Swayze as
Pat
Cody.
Swayze, dude.
Come on.
Just a perfect
So
villain.
cool.
Yeah, it's got Flea. I mean, come on, dude. The
Doesn't
whole
have
scene where
Flea.
they break
It
into
has
Anthony
Anthony
Kiedis.
Or
Kiedis.
Anthony
Yes,
Kiedis,
Kiedis.
yes. Sorry. The whole scene where they break into the house, it's like one of the most accurate. Like, holy shit, they're on heavy meth. Like,
And his
scenes.
name is Johnny Utah.
His
What
name
an
is
action
Johnny
movie
Utah.
Johnny Utah.
He played
What's
quarterback.
the quarterback from where?
Ohio State.
Ohio State Buckeyes.
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State.
Dude, it's got Tank Girl in it. It's all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Real fast. We'll run through the 14 things he does in action. Okay.
I
This
love
is
this
Johnny
shit.
Utah. He confidently cocks a shotgun with one hand in the ring. He crushes 5 separate blockers on his way to tackling an open field runner into the ocean during the game of beach football. He gets into a fight with a member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He
Yes.
goes surfing at night, despite not being able to go surfing during the day. He shows up late to a raid because he was making love to a woman on the beach.
Yes.
He gets into a close range shootout and then tackles a guy through a window and then nearly gets his face ripped off by an upturned lawnmower during a fight. He thwarts a bank robbery and gets a pit bull thrown at him during a foot chase. He goes skydiving with bank robbers after they know he's an FBI agent. He gets forced into participating into an actual bank robbery. He gets shot in the chest. He gets pistol whipped. He gets arrested by the FBI. He gets his partner killed like 3 minutes after his partner saved him from going to jail. And then he jumps out of an airplane with no parachute. It's fucking perfect.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
$27. Now Isaac's in the bathroom, so he can't.
$30.
$35.
It's so
I gotta keep track.
Your boy John Philbin is great in this. Speaking of
Who is John Philbin? Is he the FBI guy?
he works for the FBI.
Okay.
No,
the,
John
uh,
McGinley. John
McGinley. Don't think of John McGinley. Yeah.
Dr.
John
Cox.
C.
Oh yeah, Johnny C.
Dr.
Dr. Cox.
Yeah.
Playboy Hind. Let's go into platoon.
John Philbin's somebody else. Your boy John
And
McGinley.
yes, you bother me. Oh, God, he's
John
great.
C. McGinley, dude, that dude does not get the shine he deserves. I feel like he's kind of starting to get it. He is so good in every single thing he's in. Every
He's such
single
a
thing he's
man.
in.
He's
Look
such
at
a
all.
man.
Dude, he's so, and he gives a shit about every single role. Like, he goes to the mat for sorry, this isn't about Johnny C, but he's fantastic.
If you watch the director's commentary version of Seven, there's a part where David Fincher and Brad Pitt are like they're talking through the movie, and then we get to the part. John C. McGinley has a really small part in there where he's the helicopter pilot, and as soon
Yeah,
as
he
they show
does.
him, they go fucking nuts just talking about how great this guy. Like it's so good. It's so good.
Wait, though, do I get it for 35?
36.
Wait, who did Ian bet 36?
I
Who's
just
he
hit
at right
36.
now?
I'm at 60. I'm at 65,
Okay.
and I'm built for war.
36, you can take it.
37.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Dude, Gary Busey's in it. Being
Gary
Gary
Busey.
Busey.
Gary Busey he's like not quite Gary Busey yet. You know, I mean he is, but he's still
He's not-
calm in this.
He hasn't gone full Busey. He's
Yeah.
not.
He's got one foot in the real
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
1 foot in
It's
the
not
music.
scary yet.
He was arguing, he was Mr. Joshua, so he had that, and this is his like coming out. I'm gonna say word scary music.
Dude, this is like Catherine Bigelow at her peak. This is
It's big.
This is Swayze near his peak. It's this or Roadhouse. I mean, like, what do you
Right
like?
around his Point Break.
Right around his point, right? This is Keanu at the beginning of like a beautiful journey for him.
Oh my God, yes. He does
It really
this.
is.
He does this, Speed, The Matrix, and John Wick over the course of the next 25 years.
That's insane.
He's so lovable in this. He's so charming. He's really not even trying to be. He just is. To me, he's just so good. He just seems like such a good dude.
I am an
FBI agent.
All right, you just talked me to $38.
$39.
man. See, dude? And then this is
Give it
how
to
it
me,
goes.
Ian.
Then a bunch of $1 at the end.
Give it to me, Ian. Just let me have it.
Honey, it's already at 39. You're not gonna push it to $1?
You know,
Don't do
40's
it.
got a
Don't do
nice
it.
even number to it. 40 was probably right.
Ian, let me throw you some out. Ian, what about The Fugitive? Can I interest you in The Fugitive?
These are all fine movies.
Oh,
These
come
are all
on.
fine movies.
Come on.
Nobody's robbing a bank.
He's scrambling. He's throwing bodies. He's throwing bodies
What's
on
it
the
gonna
back
take
of
to
the.
get you to come to Dallas? Come on.
He's throwing cadavers at you, trying to get you to swerve.
Ian, what about The Rock? Don't
It's
forget
a
about
great
The Rock.
movie. It's a great movie, but it's not as good.
It's still in there, yeah.
Because this movie has everything The Rock has, and it's like bidding $40. I am coming to the table with $40 if I enter this.
$41.
Oh my God.
$42.
Holy
$43.
Dude, you guys are laying them both out on the table. Man.
$44 and $44.
This is crazy.
I don't know if I
This
can
is
go higher. I don't know if I can go higher than $40.
You
Sean,
guys
you
are gonna
couldn't even be in this one.
You're gonna run out of. All right, $40. You got me. $40.
$45.
Man, where's your Point Break poster framed at? Is that like in your bedroom? Is
Yeah,
that why you're
I'm
getting so high?
It's right above our bed. And I look at it. When Laramie and I make love to each other, we both look at Johnny Utah and Bo Stuffa.
Yeah, you gotta do it sideways. Like we have to make love sideways so we both see it. Man, my neighbor's dog, so it's old dude Doug in the backyard. His dog's named Bodie, and I was like, it can't be because of Bodie. And then Laura asked him why Bodie, because I was like, there's no way it's that. She goes, it might be, and he goes, that's Point Break reference. I was like, oh, man, he's like 75. That's sick.
$47.
Get
Well,
out of
me,
here.
dude. You
can have it,
Hot
you can
sauce
have it.
for $60. Is that what I spent on hot sauce? $60.
I think it was $60.
Something crazy like that.
I'd like to point out that David has no picks, nothing
Seen it?
drafted.
We've seen
That's
it.
okay.
Why David always?
that.
That's why I always
Don't worry about it.
wins, dude.
I'd like to point out that I have Terminator 2 and Point Break. I'm set.
$18.
I'm set.
and enough for an entree at Cheesecake Factory.
What am I going to spend the $18 on? Not Point Break? You know what I mean? I'm good.
So, am I up? Isaac, am I up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are.
Man, that was tough, man. My stomach. Oh, breathing all heavy.
You weren't even in it.
I know, but it was getting caught up, dude. That was
Wait, don't
hard.
hurt.
All right, let's go. Let's just broach the non-action, the sneaky one.
Broach away.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say for my sneaky non-action, and it doesn't say action on IMDb, but I'm gonna say Fargo. How do we feel about that? Is that an action movie?
I think
He
it's
throws a body into a wood chipper. There are guns.
That is not
there's
an
murder.
action
I mean, I know
movie
it's
at
like a
all.
mystery thriller. There's a lot of action. Buscemi's face wound.
There's a lot of action. There's no
It's
action.
an issue through the whole movie. There's the chase scene in the house. You know, there's action stuff. Jay, what do you
I think it's pretty action-y.
No.
Action-y.
No.
Fargo.
No.
It's about hitmen.
No. No.
Yeah, there's, it's
No.
got the action stuff.
No.
Cops.
There's not a lot of
guns.
action in that
Then
movie.
There's crazy scenes, like again the wood chipper scene, all that stuff. Chasing someone down and popping them. What's that guy's name? It's not a Skarsgård. What's his name? Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare, right?
Yeah, here's Tornado, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So this is kind of where, because to me, I honestly thought it would say action, crime, mystery, or something on IMDb. So to me,
It's not action at all.
Be a sneaky non-action.
Not action
I think it's
at all.
very sneaky.
I
No.
think it's okay. I think it's okay
No.
for
Boo.
this category.
I'm
Boo.
gonna say $10.
You can
Boo.
have it.
I also.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now that the non-action category is where I'm gonna win the draft. I'm gonna
Okay.
just let you know ahead of time. I got
Wow.
it locked up. I did so much research last night to get that.
Wow.
So you can have it. Have
If
it.
Ian had more than $18, he wouldn't give it to me, but he doesn't. So
I do love the movie Fargo. I do not. I have.
you don't agree with? See, I feel bad. I want it to
No,
be.
I
I don't.
agree
I
with
don't
you.
want any dispute.
I just don't want it. I have a non-action movie that I am also very happy with, and hopefully I'll be able to get.
As long as we're not in dispute, so we all agree it's cool. That's an okay pick for that category. I'm not like cheating. Okay.
I wouldn't say it's
No.
cool, but yeah, you get it.
Shut up, dude. You know what I meant. Like how the kids say cool.
Rip your face off, bro.
It's gonna be hard to re-enter the pageant without a face. But
All right, David.
I'm gonna go non-action too. What do you guys think about this? I'm gonna take Home Alone.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it.
Oh,
That's it.
Non-action, Home Alone, and I'm cheap. I'm gonna start at $5.
shit. 10.
Sean?
I can put Fargo on my wild card, can I?
Oh yeah, okay.
If
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah,
No, you
sure.
definitely can't.
I can't.
No,
Oh,
wild
because
cards
it's-
for action.
Oh, because
That's fair. So,
So
yeah.
I will be the man who bids 10.
God damn it. That's
Alright.
such a good pick, dude.
I'll go as high as 15.
That eliminates me from contention.
No, 16. You can do 16. Do 16. You can do 16. Make him do it. Make him do it.
You can push me to the brink.
I
Yeah.
don't. What will you go 17? It's a great movie. It is a
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
movie. And then what do we have to fill in? Foreign and wild card.
For each for $1.
$1.
Boy, oh boy, people could really not.
Just to let you know, I have another sneaky action. So, like, I can.
I almost spit. That was good. Because he goes, I'll let you
This
have
is
it.
Such a good sneaky action movie. It's a great pick.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
But
sneaky action movie.
I need to stay in the draft a little bit, so I'll let you have it.
I was listening to the radio when I take Max to daycare, it's just the radio. And somebody, I forget the conversation, but one of the DJs goes to the other one. He's like, "You've seen Home Alone, right?" Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen Home
Yeah.
Alone. Like, how's that?
Isaac, wait.
Wait, Isaac, have you seen Home Alone?
Have you seen Home Alone?
Of course I've seen Home Alone.
All right.
Okay, don't do that because you've never seen Cool Runnings. So I don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck's going on.
Never heard of
Never heard of Cool Runnings. I mean, yeah, I've seen all like the kids stuff.
Crazy.
Cool Runnings
Cool
is a
Runnings is a
kid's
kid's movie.
Oh, I guess it
I
wasn't
guess we didn't
X1 and
explain
2.
it. We didn't explain it like that at all. We were like,
It's
a
not
bunch
a
of
dark Jamaican
Rastafarians.
Yeah.
It's dark. It was dark, dude. It
And
was
for
dark.
that conversation, you guys have to go to the Patreon.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's true.
Oh, wow.
I forgot.
Look at
There he
that.
goes,
Look at that.
producing. Let the producer produce.
Time for me to introduce a movie. And I'm going to introduce into the foreign movie. It is an English language movie, but produced by a foreign director, produced overseas. I'm going to take the movie Leon the Professional.
Yeah, that was on my list.
I have to open the bidding for $1, and not out of disrespect to Luc Besson, just because I have to be wary of my budget in this movie.
Yeah. See, this is how I win, where I can come in for 5.
Can somebody explain to me how this is a foreign film now?
Okay, well,
It's a
let's talk
French
about
movie,
it.
right? It was
It's a
made by
French-
French people, released in French first.
Yeah, it's a French movie. They just did it in English. So it's made by Gaumont, directed by Luc Besson, released in France first. It's technically a French movie. Are we okay with it?
I'm okay. I had it on
Yeah,
my
dude.
list
What
for 4
have
months.
I ever given a fuck about anything? Is the Portman? So is it two different? Is it two different movies, or is it just the same movie? They just released it there first, and then you.
Released it there first and then here.
So the Portman's in both.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The same movie.
Jean Reno, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman as unhinged as you'll see him in any
Yeah.
movie. And that's saying something. The Gary Old Man.
The old man, dude.
Leon, about a assassin who decides he has to protect this young lady. Living out like one. It's great. If you haven't seen it, it's great. A little weird, but it's great.
Why is it weird? Just the relationship they have.
There's a light sexualization of Natalie Portman's character, who is like for sure 12.
Yeah.
But not by Leon though, right? By the movie, by the director or whatever.
By the director, yeah.
Okay.
There's a French lens on this movie.
But like the storyline, it's not like Leon's weird or anything. It's
No.
That's all good.
He's very sweet. They have a very sweet relationship.
But yeah, I know what you mean. She's definitely sexualized. Which is yes.
Yeah.
That's weird. Why did I ask? You asked. Because it's fun to talk about things on a
It's
podcast.
good to have a discussion. And it looks like I will be taking the professional with me.
I just said, I said, oh, no, never mind. You're not gonna go past 5?
I already got my phone over here.
Yeah, I've been 5.
Oh, you've been 5.
I'm sitting pretty with my foreign film.
6.
Dude, I can't stop watching foreign
I didn't even
films. It's
know
almost
that.
crazy.
I just wanted to push it up.
That's all right. I do want it.
Yeah, you do want it. You do want it. Maybe I say 7 then, just because I know you do want it.
Do you say 7?
I say 7.
Motherfucker.
I almost had to have you guys pick a specific year
It
because
was
I'm like,
on my list.
I'm always in a bath in foreign movies. So it's like I was like, what year? You know, because there's just too many to pick from. If you narrow it down to a decade, what am I going to do? You know, it's a whole other podcast.
You can have it for 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That did kind of backfire because I kind of want my form.
Yeah.
I kind of want my form.
Yeah.
I kind of want my form better. But I can put this in wild card,
You
right?
absolutely can. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of want my form better.
You're okay with having that filth in your wild card slot? That's fine with me.
That's my wild card slot is 4 film. That's the
Yeah, dude.
It's a wild card, baby.
Shay, it's back to you to introduce a movie.
All right. Let me do my wild card. Oh wait, I keep doing this right. I keep going to cat. I can just say a movie and then
Say a movie, then you can say what you put it afterwards.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna grab a movie that was part of one of the all-time great action movie runs ever. Give me The Rock, 1996.
Yeah.
Directed by the King, Michael Bay.
Yes.
Who, from 1995 to 1998, he does Bad Boys, an action movie classic. He does The Rock,
Yes, he
an
does.
action movie classic. He does Armageddon, an action movie classic. And he does Bad Boys 2, an action movie classic. And in between those two, he had also Pearl Harbor movie. That's not an action movie classic. But he does 4...
It's action
fives. Fucking crazy. Sean Connery, of course, is right in there. Nick Cage is in there. We got Ed Harris playing the most Ed Harris role he's ever done.
The most Ed Harris role. The baldest, strongest, fastest a man has ever been.
Ed Harris is the shit, dude.
The top of the level.
And this also catches Nick Cage when he's doing his Con Air, The Rock, and Face Off run.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is a steal at $10.
That is a steal of $10.
Where are you putting it?
I'll put it in domestic.
$10.
I think I can swim from Alcatraz. I think I should.
She's a big money guy too. She's a big money guy too these days.
I think about it every time I'm at the Bay. I look and I'm like, I think if my life depended on it, I think I could do it. I really do.
It's
I
cold,
You're
it's
insane.
choppy.
think I can do it. If my
Have you
life
been
was
out
on the
there?
line.
Have you looked at it from there? Have you
Yeah.
been to Alcatraz and looked back?
You know people try, right?
We were we were anchored on a boat at Alcatraz. I never actually stepped foot on Alcatraz, but we were anchored at the island, and I looked
$12.
and I was,
$12.
I gotta do it. It's one of those crazy
I
things,
didn't
I
even see
believe.
you swim strokes much in a pool, let alone. But all right,
Sean, you can do it, Sean. You can
I've
do
never
it.
seen
Thank you, sure. I appreciate it.
you should just do it. Don't even train.
David, don't just like we're out there swimming when we're in pools. We're only thing I'm doing is swimming over to get another White Claw.
That's what I mean. So I've never
$15.
seen your swimming prowess. $15, huh?
15 for the rock.
That's not like I'd breaststroke the whole way, but I could get it done, I think.
Losers fight about doing their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
There it is.
Was the prom queen. Clack, clack.
That was really good. I'm feeling very good about this pick because we did all of that talk about Point Break and you never did an impression as soon as we bring up the rock. We go straight into it. I feel real good. At $15, give it to me.
Ooh, 17. Ooh.
Yeah, there we go.
20.
The two money bags over
Do you
here.
know what else this movie has that's great? Is like bad guys who are convinced they're right, which is always nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're doing
yeah,
something
yeah.
better for the.
I love
like,
it. Yeah.
And then they turn. He turns at the. And you knew Ed Harris wasn't going to go through with it. You knew he couldn't kill all those Americans. Not Ed Harris.
Yeah,
he was
bro,
certain.
come on.
Not Ed. You're too fucking
That's what he's doing this
Who's
for.
earned for that? This is the movie where you get Nicolas Cage falling to his knees holding two flares while fighter jets flying over him?
Yes.
Great
that's it.
shot.
That should
Great
be the
shot.
visual accompaniment to the national anthem. They should play that in every sporting event.
You also get, they talk about how impossible it is to break out of your prison cell in Alcatraz, and then we watch Sean Connery do it in like 5 seconds with the fucking sheet. He just whips it down there and is like, here you go, I'm out. Hell yes. Give me the Rocket $20. I will not give that order. I cannot give that order.
Those green, like the little green globes in the like
Yeah.
little glass, full of what it like sort of Sauron
I
gas
got
or something like that. Come on, hey, you got
You got $20, huh?
There it is.
Come on, $20.
I'll go 22. I'll go 22 for The Rock.
25.
You know there was a phone call about Sean Connery negotiating front and center on that VHS cover.
Yeah, absolutely. It always bothers me when the names don't match up with the faces.
Why do they
Yeah, I
get it?
hate that. I hate that too. 27.
28. Just
This
let it
and
go.
Bad Boys 2 are his
Just
Michael
let
Bay's
it go.
movies.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but this is the Bay too, dude. You gotta put
I
on
know,
the
that's
Bay.
what I'm thinking. 29. He was on there early. Now we're split
30,
hairs.
30.
32.
Just go get Bad Boys 2, David. It's right there.
32.
30,
It's
33.
really.
Yeah.
That's sick. Ugh.
33.
Got money, dude.
I do got money.
You guys both got some cheddar.
I'll take it to 35. I'll take it to 35.
36, David.
Wow.
Rasheed Wallace
I might-
wasn't on the Blazers.
I might gotta let you get that and go get some other shit I want.
Yeah.
Alright, going once.
This is the great strategy that David employs, that he does it without attachment. He's not attached to any pick.
Yeah.
No, I live, yeah. You know what? I'll take it, you can take it. I got what I want.
Now we're talking.
Okay.
Let me tell you what just happened. I got the premier action movie director of the 90s, Michael Bay,
Yes.
and I got the premier action movie actor of the 90s, Nick Cage, and 2 times now, movies that David desperately wanted, ripped away from his hands.
Oh, desperately is not the word, baby. Desperately is not the word.
Desperately. Desperately.
Here's the thing.
Desperately.
Prince love is not like that of a square. I'm open to all kinds of stuff.
Oh boy. All right. Sean
What's on your
Connery,
boy?
here to introduce a movie.
Alright, wild card. It's in my top 10, sometimes top 5 favorite movies of all time. My favorite ensemble cast, I think ever, True Romance.
That's not an action
Is
movie.
that an
Out
action?
of your...
Is that an action
No.
movie? It's not an action
No,
movie.
True
Romance.
I don't think it's an action movie, bro.
Go to IMDb.
I don't think we need to. Let's hold
It's
to
very violent. It's very violent.
Are you insane? David, do you think it's an action movie?
I do, but I also have a bunch of money, so much like most rich people, I don't care about your problems.
It's a crime. It's
I
a
don't care
crime
about your-
movie, not an action movie.
It
It's a
doesn't
crime.
ring action movie. I think you could maybe put it in non-action if you were feeling froggy, but like it's a crime. I feel like the same way. It's a
It doesn't
crime
say
movie.
action on IMDb. I had enough gusto to not even look it up, and here I am looking it up, having to eat my own words. I could have used that in my non-action.
You could have. That would have been way better than Fargo.
Yeah. Is that your non-action pick there in the chipper?
Shit, man. Well, all right. Well,
Bounce back.
We'll go,
Bounce back, Sean.
all right. Independence Day.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
good one.
There you
There
go.
you go. There you go. That's the game, Sean.
That's the formula with me. I do a stinker, and then it barely gets accepted or it gets shot down, and then I come back with something right. So Independence Day in the wild card. I really don't think I'm getting a lot of pushback from David in my franchise, so $5 just to see where we're at.
$6. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah, it's a domestic movie. $10. Let's see what's up.
Yeah.
What's up? The bet. The bid, rather. $11. Lucky number 11.
Okay.
Lucky number 12.
No, that ain't a lucky number. 13's a lucky number, Playboy. Just stamp it. Let's move on. We can quit talking about it. $13. Done deal. Not a big deal.
1996, when this movie came out, it hit so
I
hard.
remember the whole rollout.
The whole rollout. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. I'd love to tell you, Will Smith. Is this not the coming out party for sure, but is this the like coronation of Will Smith?
I think it stamped it. I think it stamped it.
This is like you
Yeah,
are.
he's the guy.
You're the guy.
And I think it's Jeff Goldblum coming out as like Jurassic Park was 93, right? 92?
The first
Whatever.
Jurassic Park is 93.
He was really like he was really like that in Jurassic Park, but this is the first one where he got to be like a strong, like leading, like that. So this gave me the ums and uhs for Jeff Goldblum too.
This movie fucked around and made $817 million.
Jesus.
How much did it cost to make?
75.
Did it come out on July 4th?
It came out on July 3rd.
July
dude.
3rd,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Judd Hirsch is in this, but I love a little Judd Hirsch action.
Isn't Harvey Firestone in it?
Harvey
Yes.
Firestein is in it, yeah.
David, I gotta comment on that.
Oh, it's named
Mike,
after
when he
David.
picks-
That's right.
He picks up the can, my God in heaven, holding a can to put in the recycling as aliens are poised to destroy the whole planet. It's so funny. All the catchphrases are fun. Randy Quaid has like 3 catchphrases when he's flying into the ship. Hey boys, I'm back. Like he just says like 3 different cuts catchphrases.
You got Robert Loggia basically playing General Patton in this thing. It's like amazing. Loggia in military dress? Sign me up for that movie.
A lot of. Can you say that again?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you heard me, bro. I said there's aliens. That's what I mean.
They give a spaceship a coal, bro. $14.
Yeah, you know, they do. $16.
Ah, damn it. All right, well, that's fine.
$19 out of spite.
I'll take $20 for that.
Oh yeah.
This is what having money does. Huh?
Yeah.
$21.
Sean.
You know David's not going to let you bid him out of a Harry Connick Jr. movie.
Come on, $22. Sean, you don't want to do this.
I'm talking on the knee, poised to kiss
Sean,
the
you
booty.
can't have $2 and then have 3 picks left. You're already out.
Kick the tires and light the fires.
No, I only have 2 picks.
Oh,
Sean's got
okay.
30. Sean's got 30.
Oh, Sean's got 30. Never mind.
$29.
Okay, take it.
They blow up the White House. Okay.
Dude, it's a wild. It is long too. It's fun, man.
Sean's got $1, but he's
You
also
always
got
wonder about the pickup, the cleanup for Independence Day. How long would that take? Like 20 years?
in real life.
Yeah, 30 years. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, it'd take like 30 years, right? Those spaceships were the size of, what did they say? Like Dallas or something? Didn't they say
Oh,
that?
they were huge. I remember. You're right.
Or they were like Rhode Island or some shit, and they all crashed into the planet. Like all of those are going to have to be very carefully picked up and disposed of. Where? Oh, anyway, yeah.
Well, I just want to say we will not go quietly into that good night.
Isaac already put me at 0, by the way, if you see it on the board. We just moved the $1 over.
We will not go quietly into that good night, but we will go into our second break. We'll be right back.
This episode of All Fantasy Everything is brought to you by Fume. Now, cold turkey, listen, it's good on sandwiches, we all know that, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about like a mind trick, hypnosis, anything like that. We're not talking about like the dude down the street who's got some crazy advice for you. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume, and the way that they look at a problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, so instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, just remove the bad from your habit. You know what I mean? Fume is an innovative and award-winning device that does exactly that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all natural, delicious flavors. You get it. You understand what we're saying? Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy at any time, and it makes replacing your bad habit extremely easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial. It's designed with movable parts, magnets for fidgeting, in case you're busy, flip around, you want to flip and do the whole thing where it flips in between your fingers. It gives your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing, calming down anxiety, while you're breaking your bad habit, all of that. It does, like, when you get it, it's got a nice wood grain, it's pleasing to the eye, it doesn't sound like a huge wand or anything like that, so it's definitely something that can help you out tremendously. Stopping is something we all put out because it's hard, obviously. But switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use code AFE to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. Again, head to tryfume.com/AFE to save an additional 10% off your order today.
And we're back. Welcome back to the 90s action movie auction draft with Shea Serrano, author of the action movie star. What is it? The Action Star Scouting Report? What's the exact language?
Action Hero Scouting Report.
Action Hero Scouting Report, which you can get right now at halfwaybooks.com. Make sure you go pick that up.
I'm gonna order it immediately after we do this.
I think I
this
am
is
too.
tight.
Yeah, this is super.
I honestly haven't been like, no shade on
This is
anyone who
tight.
sent me books, but I haven't been stoked to like read anything for a minute because I don't like reading. So this is dank. I'm excited.
I'll always remember a Barnes & Noble employee one time told me, I can always tell when someone comes in here to buy one of your books because they look like they've never been in a bookstore before. Like that's the thing that they said to me. We lead the league in getting reluctant readers into the reading game.
Dude, I'll just go in there with a Coors Light and be like, where are the books at, bro? Be like, it's a bookstore. I'd be like, yeah, but where are the books, though, dude? Where are the books, though? Come on, dude, show me the books, dog.
Sean has read On the Road by Jack Kerouac, The Dirt by Motley Crue, and now I think you're ready for a third jewel.
Pretty much
next
the
round.
same book, just different arrows.
Heroin Diaries, Juggalo. I mean, I read the hits,
David, how do you introduce a movie?
Oh, I'm introducing. Oh, the first one. This is the first movie that came up for me in my head. Just like I've watched it so many goddamn times in the '90s. It was a huge. It's the first action movie I remember watching all the time. I'm taking it for domestic, which means I can just get it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm taking Demolition Man for $1.
Great.
Yeah.
You are the biggest Demolition fan that I know.
I remember watching it in 1994, wondering what 1996 was going to be. You remember? Yeah. Come on. Simon Phoenix, Taco Bell, President Schwarzenegger,
Wesley Snipes' haircut?
the Three Seashells,
Good.
Rob Schneider going crazy.
Stallone looking weird with his shirt off.
Everybody looks weird though.
Stallone looks so weird with his shirt off in this movie.
The movie that taught me the term mattress mambo? Come on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sandra Bullock in that movie looks
Oh,
unbelievable.
top tier Sandy B. Top tier.
Sandy B, dude.
That's like a diorama shape.
This is a box of Demolition Man trading cards. That's what this
I love
is.
it. I love
my
it.
God.
Dude, I want to go to your office, man.
I know it's
I love Demolition Man so much.
Your office
Stallone
seems
versus
nice.
It's all the shit I wanted as a kid that I didn't have any money to get. And now
Yeah.
like I got enough
Man, isn't
money
that
to buy all the shit.
That is the best come up.
I got a closet full of the same stories as far as sneakers go.
Yeah, same.
And those boats on your counter.
My office is that, but for my wife. Right. And
Is
then,
this?
$2. For me, it was my garage, and then that also became storage. So now it's my stuff.
I mean, $5, obviously.
Two things to point out with John Spartan, because John Spartan is also in the Action Hero Scouting Report. Two things that stood out to me on the rewatch. Number one, he wakes up and he finds out there's a big earthquake that happened in 2010 or so, and that's why we have San Angeles now, that the cities are combined. And they tell him, he's like, hey, I had a wife and a kid. What's up with them? And they go, oh, your wife died in the big earthquake of 2010. He's like, dang, that sucks. They're like, your daughter didn't die. He's like, all right, cool. And then he never goes to the horror film.
That's great.
Not ever. He just goes, he's like, she probably wouldn't like me. And then that's it. He's like, I'm a single man now. Single and childless.
All right.
There's that part. And
Go
then
to
of
the barber
course,
shop.
and then of course, I did a thing in the Action Hero Skyrim Report where I list each character's most heroic feat. What's the most heroic thing they did in the movie? For John Spartans, whatever. In the future, everyone cleans themselves after using the restroom by using 3 shells instead of toilet paper. John Spartan is understandably perplexed by this. Just cannot figure it out. So what he does is he cusses a bunch of times, because every time someone cusses in Demolition Man, they're issued a paper citation, like a ticket. After he has collected a handful of citations, he heads off to the restroom. A lot of action heroes have expressed their disregard for things by saying something like, I'll wipe your ass with your whatever. I'll wipe my ass with your whatever. John Spartan is the only one who is ever able to do it literally. That's what's the most heroic.
Come on. He wiped his ass.
That's a great pick, David.
He wiped his ass with their rules. Come on.
Great pick.
Come on. Oh, I can't say fuck you, and my poop's on you.
I'm gonna bid $6 if only for that sign that immediately cleans up its own graffiti.
Yeah, 8.
Ooh,
For all the Taco Bell.
I got what he had for Eddie.
Come on, this is the steal.
Yeah.
This might be the steal of the day.
That's a steal. Right there. And then Wesley Snipes speaking Spanish. Let's go.
Come on.
My whole heart. My whole heart.
Oh my god. When he was down there with the cannon, and he's like, come a blast from the past. Also, he makes a noise in that movie when he first gets access to the guns where he goes,
Yeah.
oh man, so good. In the first scene, he's wearing black and white straight pants. The whole wardrobe is crazy.
They do the thing where him and John Spartan are fighting, and John Spartan swings a TV at him, hits him, and then his like witty line is, "You're on TV." That's what he says.
Oh, I love it when he puts the electric thing in the water and shocks him, and he's like, "Woo!" Oh man, it's great.
You're on TV at least. That's like as good of a line as you would realistically be capable of getting off in an actual fight.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're on the breath, full of adrenaline. You're like, I'm either gonna throw a punch or cry. Like it's that energy. Like I think you're on TV is as good as I can get. All right. Time for me to introduce a movie, and I'm going to introduce in the non-action category for the price of $1. Hear me out. Forrest Gump.
No.
I don't know.
No.
Hear me out.
No.
Make the case.
No.
Action on the football field.
No.
You got body slamming together. You know
No.
what I mean? You got a little football
I
action.
don't count that.
Goes to war. Hold on, hear me out. Goes to war in Vietnam. Saves his buddy. Runs around. Bombs going off all around him. You have a pivotal sport. Another one, ping pong in China. So you got a little action with that. You know what I mean?
Come on, you are
Pulls
reaching,
up.
my friend.
Pulls us up and finally, on the shrimp boat, in a hurricane, Lieutenant Dan strapped to the mast. You have action propelling this movie. You have stuff in between,
No.
but you have action set pieces
It's
propelling
no.
this movie at every turn.
No.
It's mostly the stuff in between. I'm not going. I don't think this is
No.
action.
Yeah, I love you, but absolutely not.
I think even with the stretch,
I'm
I
not
think
going.
it's.
All
I
right,
think it's
fine. Then it's The Lion King for $1.
that I can get behind a lot
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I'm with it. Take the Lion King.
I thought
like
about Forrest Gump. Anything's action. I mean,
I think there's a lot of
Anything
action.
is
The Lion King,
action.
You got fights, you got death, you got battles on top of fried rice.
Yeah.
You have a
Adversarial family.
training montage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For Simba, he goes, he gets better. Yeah. So okay.
Kind of
I
training.
No training
I
montage.
do believe I'll just take it down.
Yeah, I'm not. Not even
Put her in there.
left.
Go ahead. Put her in there.
Go ahead, put her in there. Let's just keep moving.
Jason good too.
I know, you guys are gonna battle here, I think.
Can you tell me how much money I have?
That's $69.
Yeah, there we go. Just wanted to hear it out loud.
You have the most hilarious amount of money.
I'm gonna go foreign. Because Ian's out of money, so he can't take this from me.
I can get it all.
You can get involved. That's fine. I got enough money. The smokescreen, the hard-boiled smokescreen paid off, because here's what I get with my foreign action movie.
Paid out for me, man. I was dying for it.
I get perhaps the greatest Asian action movie star to have ever lived.
Jack Chan.
I get an incredible director. I get an incredible spin-off. Give me Super Cop. 1992, Jackie Chan's greatest movie ever. Jackie Chan's greatest movie ever. It's the third in the Police Story franchise. It's the best one. It does a couple of things. This is Stanley Tong directing it. Jackie directed the first two. He doesn't direct the third one. But we get Stanley Tong, who they then reconnected later on with Rumble in the Bronx. We get Michelle Yeoh, Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh, in this movie doing her own stunts. Her and Jackie both doing her own stunts. This is the movie where she almost died during the stunt when the two cars drove by her after she fell off the thing. We get the spin-off from this movie where she goes on to star in the next movie. And then, of course, you have the failed stunts thing that they do at the end of the movies, where you get to watch everything that went wrong and see all the real shit that they were doing.
Always my
Just-
favorite part of the Jackie Chan. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much better than a Marvel 35-second always a guy with a horn out of his forehead walks out of a bar and I'm supposed to know what's going on. I don't know. Give me this every single time.
I hate superhero movies. I never know what's with the fight.
Yeah,
I
mine too.
can't say hate, but I really am not.
I like
I'm not.
I
I'm
like
not
the new
into it.
Spider-Man, but I don't really.
I never know where I am in the middle of a fight. I'm like, what are we even
Yeah,
doing?
my eyes start to hurt.
Yeah.
All right, where's this bidding started?
It started at $5. Because it's only me and Ian who have floor in that.
Yeah.
I can move Leon to my wild card. Because that's an action movie, right? No matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
7.
$15.
Oh.
$16.
All right. Well. Dude, you have so much money, bro.
I do, but there's like another wild card that I kind of want.
I know what it is too.
Stealing the professional really fucked me. To be completely honest, I had a whole other game plan, and now I'm not sure it's gonna work.
You want to work on a trade? I'll give you $1.
I love this shit. Do it, please.
I'll give you $1 right now for Leon the Professional.
What do I get?
$1.
$1.
Oh,
But you also get your horn free.
I get my
back up.
foreign open.
I love it. I love this shit, man.
I can't. That's hustling backwards.
All right.
I still think $7 is a steal.
I'm not giving him $8.
I'd do it for 10.
I could have had it for 8. I'll give you $2.
I'll do it for 10. Otherwise, I'm out on Super Comp and this.
Yeah, run it in the spreadsheet, Isaac. Oh my God, I can't believe I got that. I cannot believe I got that.
Yeah, that was on my foreign list. Way high.
The greatest ever.
Sean, what franchise movie might you be getting for $1?
I might be getting Die Hard too.
You want two over With the Vengeance? Over
I
3?
mean, yeah. Yo, pick whatever you want, big dog. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's all you. But I feel like
Because, I mean, if I want a vengeance.
Well, no, you can't pick it though. Wait, can you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We
'Cause
established that, right?
I'll be open now. I want a vengeance. So if I block shot?
So if I get Die Hard, oh, interesting. So you don't want Die Hard 2.
What is happening
But
at
to
all?
get a vengeance, you have to take Die Hard 2 for your wild
okay,
card.
yeah, you can swap, you can switch it to 3 if you get 2. You can convert it. You can upgrade your
But
Pokemon.
Two is
I thought-
garbage,
So if
though.
I buy this, I can just switch it to 3.
I think so.
I'll
Oh,
allow that. I
$2.
think that's fun. Yeah.
That's what I wanted the whole time.
Dude, that's see, fun little rules, man. This is dang.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, Ian's going in on it too?
Oh yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, me too. It was the
So
first
much
one.
fun.
It was the second one I thought of on the franchise. But the other one, I don't think the first movie is as good. Where are you at? 3?
Yeah.
5.
When he has to solve the water
jugs?
bills, the jugs and
Come
everything,
on.
and he's running around.
His name is Zeus.
Hey,
name is
Zeus.
Zeus.
I thought they were calling you Jesus. No, they were saying, hey, Zeus.
Is this the one where he says smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo?
I don't know.
when they first come to get him that morning, he was like, I was smoking cigarettes so much, Captain K. Whatever. I mean, 5. You said you're at 5. I'll take 7.
It's raining like dogs and cats outside.
You just bid against yourself, but I'm not going to get involved then.
Oh, I thought you were at 5, Ian.
No, you were at 5. You took us to 5. But 7 it is.
You know, I got some dough.
That's true.
There it is. Rich guy shit.
Yeah, I'll take it for 7.
I think you do get it for $7 American there.
Yes. That was the first franchise one I wanted. I feel good about it. I'm pissed about the professional though.
You can move it to your wild card if you want.
I know, but the
Okay.
other one that I want isn't foreign. I had a foreign one I wanted, and I had a wild card.
I want to see if Shay's right about your wild card.
David, it's time for you to introduce the movie. If your wild card slot hasn't won.
I mean, come on, guys. I would have been remiss if I didn't do it. This movie is bad, yes. Is it a 2-hour-long music video? Yeah, it is. But am I going to take it because I love Hype Williams? I am.
Oh!
I gotta take Belly for $1.
Dang, I didn't even think about Belly. How in the world that happened? Yeah, absolutely. The opening sequence is the best action movie there is.
It's the extended Belly cinematic universe, so you could come to the franchise.
Cold, fresh air.
And where are you having this, David?
I put in wild card.
All right, I'm gonna throw a flag because if we didn't let Sean do his, this is a crime movie. This is not an action movie. It's a crime
Yeah, I kind of feel,
You did let him do it first. That's a crime movie, not an action movie.
movie. Yeah.
How many
That's a crime
shootings are in
movie.
this movie? How many shootings are in this movie?
But it's a crime. There's other movies in the same,
There are several shootings. There's not a shootout. That's the difference.
Yes, there is. in
Yeah,
Omaha.
there is. There's a
Lamar
shootout at the
dies.
strip
Lamar
club.
dies in Omaha at the very end. And
But I
and
mean like
dies.
a proper shootout.
In True Romance, they have a huge shootout at the end, by the way.
This is
where-
a crime. This is a
If
crime
there's,
movie.
I got other stuff because, like I said, I can't be too in love with this trap. That's the only way I can do it. I got other stuff. Oh, I got a question. Is this a shootout or is this a action movie or is this a crime movie? What about Heat?
That's
It's a crime movie.
It's a crime
That's a
movie.
heist movie.
It's a crime saga.
It's like the
crime
biggest
saga.
shootout ever.
Yeah, that's a saga for sure. Yeah, but it's a shootout where
I don't even know what a saga is.
it's a shootout where everyone is afraid and aware.
This is blowing my mind because none of these say action on IMDb. I didn't even look them up. This is
You know what I
crazy
mean?
to
Like
me.
in Heat, like everyone is like you feel the machine guns are like how you would react to machine guns in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. What about this? What about the Fifth Element?
Yes,
Now
that
we're
was
talking.
okay.
Like
Now
There you
sci-fi
go.
I'll
action.
take that for the wild card.
Could I have counted Fifth Element under foreign because it was in my foreign category?
I don't even understand the
American
reason
movie
why.
Because it's in space. Because it's in space.
Oh yes, $17.
I gotta show you guys my foreign list. I gotta show you my foreign list. Are we all done? No, we're not. All right.
All right, didn't get the Fifth Element for $17. Unless anyone wants to get involved. I love that movie.
I'm still laughing about because it's in space.
I honestly feel like Chris Tucker, my favorite Chris Tucker impression or performance. I love him in that. I love Lulu Dallas Multipass. It's just great. It's one of the first sci-fi movies that ever really got me where I was like, this is great. I love the plot. Love all the space guns. I love Gary Oldman.
It's really fun.
It's time for me to introduce a movie that could be taken to the wild card. Well, this is the wild card. The Matrix. Action movie.
Very action.
I gotta spend $1 on it. Start the bidding there.
$2.
Sean, you're the only one who can fight it. Oh no, Sean has $1. $0.
Yeah, I got $1.
Another great leap forward in action movies. One that barely it was made in 1999, but it definitely ushered in the 2000s.
I mean, that was like everybody said the Matrix. How many stand-up comedy jokes have you seen where they say it was like the Matrix?
It's like the red pilling is still like the thing that people still say the worst thing. $5 for the Matrix.
One of the only movies I can think of where the graphics or whatever, just the effects were better than the sequel.
$6.
You have Keanu Reeves continuing for dominance. That's correct. I mean,
He's in this. If we wanted to, he could have been in this draft like 5 times.
It could have been a Keanu draft.
Yeah.
Larry Fishburne going big too.
Larry Fishburne wearing sunglasses with no.
Making you think you could do it. Making you think you could do it. I bet you dudes. I bet you there were some dudes trying that. And they were like,
I saw some dudes wearing those like
the nose pinches.
Yeah, $10 for the Matrix.
You know, we should do a Keanu draft.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh yeah, we could.
All right, so Ian gets it for 10.
Hugo Weaving,
Hugo
Weaving.
killing it, dude.
or his full name, Hugo Weaving's weird ass face.
And what a fun idea it was. Like when you're watching it the first time, you have the opening scene where we get introduced to Trinity, which is, you could argue, the greatest character introduction we've ever had in an action. Where they send the police up there, and then Hugo Weaving is like, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
Because you don't know what it's about yet.
What's about to happen? Yeah. She jumps, the camera spins all around her. They do the chase. She talks into the phone, and then gets smashed into the. It's fucking incredible. What an incredible movie that was.
Yeah, man.
That was, picks you up and throws you through a plate glass window. Amazing movie.
Really good.
Shay, time for to introduce your two slots.
All right. Well, shoot. Easy breezy then. Face Off. For Wildfire.
Yeah.
Great.
Give me Face Off.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I love to be involved. I can. But I love to be involved.
The most 90s action movie that we have in this list right here. Like, this is
I
the
think
one
that
to point
might-
to. This is it.
I think that might be the steal of the draft.
I could be the
This
piece
is
for
the one to
hours.
point to.
Yeah. I'm gonna take his face.
He goes, if I were to let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful? Is that what he says? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
That's exactly what
The way he
says.
says it is slimy.
It's like if I were to, wasn't it? If I were to
It
give
says
you a
like
gift,
suck
hold on,
my
let me rephrase that.
I think he says, if I were to send you flowers, where would I? Oh, wait, let me rephrase that. If I were to let you suck on my tongue, would you be grateful? Then he kills her within 10 minutes. It's
He
crazy.
throws her out of the plane, and then does the Michael Jordan shrug. Like and then 60.
Michael Jordan?
He looks right at the police, and he's like, "Well, I did what I did." It starts with him groping what looks to be a teenager, and pretending to be a priest. Oh my God! So you have what? Nicolas Cage pretending to be John Travolta, who's pretending to be Castor Troy, who's pretending to be Sean Archer. Like, that's one character. That's what that is.
You can't give out like a special, like an Oscar we only gave out that year for that. That can't be a thing. We just give it out for that year, where it's like, hey, nobody's ever even thought about trying to do this before. Here you go.
Yeah.
My favorite little thing that happens in there is when they're taking their faces off. They're laid on the table. They're cutting the faces off with the lasers or whatever. Boom, they get it off. And then once the face is off, they give them a haircut. Get the face off. Do the haircut beforehand. Now you've got my whole face exposed. What are we
Just
talking
like
about?
hair pieces falling onto your like exposed like nerves.
Oh,
You know, like
God, that's so bad.
come on.
What's he pulls a Fredo with that dude's mom and that guy's wife or something. What is it? He has the threesome with that guy's wife and
Okay.
who's the other woman though? It's the guy's wife, and then I can't remember who, but it's just a slimy situation. Like I swear it's like the guy's wife and his mom or something. I don't know. It just is crazy to me. And then he's like, I'm Castor Troy. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about when he gets assaulted in prison, where he has they have magnetic prison boots to keep you.
Love that.
Yes.
Oh my God! Every single part of this movie, they introduce you to a new set piece, a new scene, and it's like, this is the craziest shit I ever saw. Again, John Woo, the motherfucking King, John Woo. Oh man.
Love it.
All right. Well, let's go in my franchise category. Take it down for $1. We'll throw Keanu in there again. We'll say Speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. Another one, on the edge of your seat. Just fun. Dennis Hopper's great. Little Jeff Daniels in the beginning. Never hurt anybody. Pop quiz, hot shot.
It's a Wildcat.
Good quality pick. You get Jan de Bont too as a director who also did Twister. You know, like this is good quality here.
Twister was on my list in there too. That would count, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For a franchise movie, dude, any movie with a tornado counts. So.
It's the extended weather, the extended weather cinematic universe.
Wizard of Oz, all the X-Men movies where Storm gets bugged. Yeah.
Just anything, dude, like anything with weather in it. The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, a lot of tornadoes.
Yeah. There's a lot of rain in Shawshank when he comes out of it, so that's the extended weather universe. David, you're all full up, huh?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
I
Ian, you
got
gotta
it.
take your forward, and then Shay's gonna close it out with his non-action.
Boy, there's some really good foreign movies for me to get for $1 here. But I'm gonna go ahead. We've been dancing around Luc Besson all movie. I'm gonna take La Femme Nikita, his first big action movie. Just a lady kicking ass, shooting guns, killing people, looking hot, doing it. It's French as fuck. It's a great action movie. Just give me La Femme Nikita.
You've seen that? I've never even heard of it. When I was looking at these lists, you've seen these. You've seen Hard Boiled and La Femme Nikita.
Have you seen Hard Boiled? The guy who owns Hard Boiled?
No, but I said no, I have.
Oh, I
Clearly
didn't know.
haven't seen it. No.
Oh.
God no. I've never even heard
Please
of
watch
Hard
it.
Boiled or La Femme
Good for you.
Nikita
Well, you
before
should watch
today.
both of them.
I might.
Sean, you can watch Hardboiled on YouTube right now. The full movie is on there for free.
Oh, it's like paid in full. It's a free YouTube movie, huh?
Dude, they did like a TV show based off La Femme Nikita that was on USA back in the
remember
day.
that.
I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Based on this movie. But yeah, man, La Femme Nikita. We have one pick left.
Yes, here it is. Here's how I won the draft.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I've
I'm
been
bidding
looking
it's
for.
last. This is tight.
Now, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say the name of this movie, and then everybody says, "Well, it's not an action movie." Then I'm gonna make my argument, and then everybody's gonna go, "All right, you got it. You ready?" Here's my pick for a non-action movie. I'm gonna spend $1 on it. I'm gonna come out of the draft with still $6 left. Boogie Nights.
It's not an
It's
action.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
I like
Not an
this.
action.
Wahlberg.
Fine with me, dude.
Not
Here's
an
the argument.
action
All right,
movie.
here's the argument. Here's the argument. We're doing 90s action movies. And again, this is the
gonna
argument
be
that
a John Grisham level argument here.
Yeah, we need to remake it.
Ian and I both got shut down on our first choices.
this is Matthew McConaughey at the end of A Time to Kill. That's what's about to happen right now. Now imagine if this movie was white. That's what I'm In Boogie Nights, there's lots of sex. So much sex. It's about people who are paid to have sex on camera. It's about people who are paid to watch other people have sex on camera. And in the 90s, what was the very common term people used when they were referring to sex? Hey man, did you get any action last night? Did you get any action last night?
This is crazy.
That's the
This is
most
crazy.
90s circle that I can make. This is an action movie that shouldn't be an action movie. Give me
this
Boogie
is
Nights for
fucked up.
$1.
I think we gotta give it to him.
Just based on audacity alone.
There are a lot of times,
Yes.
there are a lot of times on this podcast I feel like someone has out-me'd me.
Olympic level mental gymnastics.
That just fucked me up.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning into the last episode of
Dude, that was. Yep. I mean, I was with you from jump. You didn't even have to do me like that. You did anyways.
We're the Simone Biles of mental gymnastics.
And me and Ian were messaging about the thing, and he sent me the categories. I spent like 12 hours straight after that. Being like, all right, let me put together every possible scenario and find every single movie. Oh man, I was so excited to do this. What fun. What a tremendous
Also, there is plenty of other action in that movie, by the way. There's like tons of drugs. There are a couple shootouts.
Drugs aren't action.
It works on all the
Damn, this board is crazy.
This board is crazy. To recap,
That's a bachelor party weekend right there.
Yeah.
I have $6 left. David, as is his wont, has $46 left. Sean doesn't have two pennies to rub together. Shay's got $6 left as well. I think, yeah, $6. So, in franchise, I got Terminator 2 for $35. David got Die Hard with a Vengeance for $7. Sean got Speed for $1. And Shay got Desperado for $40.
I think those are all good deals.
Those are good deals.
Easy.
I think everybody got a good deal there.
Under under 4, and I got La Femme Nikita for $1. David got Leon the Professional for $7. Sean got Hard Boiled for $33.
Great.
And Shay got Police Story 3 Super Cop for $16. Big money.
It's a great movie.
Under domestic, I dropped the most money on any movie in this draft on Point Break for $47. But it's alright, I'm gonna rob a bank later, get it all back. David, you spent $8 on Demolition Man.
Dang.
Sean, you got Cognac for $27. And Shay, you got The Rock for $36.
I mean, another good section, I think.
Under non-action movies that are sneakily an action movie, I got, actually we'll do this one last. Well, under wild cards, I got The Matrix for $10. David got The Fifth Element for $17. Sean got Independence Day for $29. And Shay got, I'm gonna take his face off for $1.
That's a steal. That's a fucking steal.
And finally, under non-action movies, I got The Lion King for $1. David got Home Alone for $15. Sean got Fargo for $10. And Shay Serrano, author of the Action Hero Scouting Report, which is available right now on halfwaybooks.com.
Do you want to say halfway?
I think that's what it's named after. Yeah,
No such thing, no
halfwaybooks.com.
such thing.
That is correct. That is correct.
Got Boogie Nights for $1 American. Boogie Nights, an action movie. Due to the sheer amount of action going on in that movie, blessed by all 3 of the other competitors and super producer rights away. Just as stellar, just an amazing pick, an amazing draft. This was so much fun. Shay, thank you so much for coming on and drafting 90s action movies with us.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Y'all are the best.
When you're ready to run it back to the 80s, you just let us know. We will
Seriously.
make ourselves
I'll
available.
do a little more foreign research now that I got a good grasp on what we're doing.
We want to hear more things. Let us know.
Space still doesn't count in the 80s.
Let us know what you would have gone with All Fantasy Pod on Twitter, All Fantasy Everything. What is it? All Fantasy Podcast at gmail.com. Shout out to everyone on the AFE Patreon, where you can find more Patreon auction drafts like this. You can find AFE mailbags. You can find pre-roll content, podcasts without ads. You can get yourself an exclusive Trailblazing and All Fantasy Everything hat, only available to our top Patreon tier. Shout out to everyone on there already. Shout out to the people signing up because they know they can get hot shit like this. Shout out to everyone on the AFE Slackly, the AFE subreddit. Shout out to super producer Isaac Whale, the ones that do. Shout out to Saints Carmel. Shout out to Frankie Ocean. Shout out to Sid the Dude. Shout out to Haji Beats. And more important than all of this, tune in again next week to another brand new episode of All Fantasy Everything.
Shiklackity.
That was a headgum podcast. Want to lose weight, be less stressed, or manage a condition? Prescription for Wellness can improve your health with personalized sessions based on your schedule. Our expert health coaches and care managers use proven techniques. It's free for UPMC Health Plan members and could lead to the results you want. For more information, visit upmchp.us/pfwellness. That's upmchp.us/pfwellness.
Welcome to Screen Drafts, the podcast where experts and enthusiasts competitively collaborate in the creation of screen-centric best-of lists. I am Draft Commissioner Clay Keller. Here with me, as always, my co-commissioner and color commentator, Mr. Ryan Barker. How you doing, Ryan?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Good. Are you feeling good about this one?
I am very excited about this.
We had never done a director episode until a few weeks back,
Yep.
and Matt and Holly chose Quentin Tarantino, and we thought, wow, Quentin Tarantino is one of the faces up on the the Mount Rushmore of things that like movie nerds have really strong opinions about.
And
like this
rank.
is and rank, and this is really like going into choppy waters. And we've got like that's one you could almost even save. When we talk about doing like people always want to do like a Spielberg draft or something, and I'm like that's like a series finale. Like we can't just do Spielberg, and we have to leave some stuff for later.
That will be the last episode.
And I thought like Quentin Tarantino was like, okay, we did a huge one. We'll let that rest for a while. And then Darren said, I've got a great guest. We're coming on. We're doing Kubrick. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, let's do it. Let's keep this rolling. March Madness.
I got a little bit.
Yeah.
I was scared from that.
So this is going to be a big one. On one side of the table, we have honorary co-commissioner, longtime friend of the show, the oldest veteran of doing screen drafts, Mr. Darren Franich. And on the other side, he is a writer of film and television, currently writing on the new HBO version of The Watchmen, Mr. Jeff Jensen. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how are you guys doing? Are you excited about this? This is big. Yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm terrified.
Jeff's terrified. Darren's excited. Darren, who came up with this with Stanley Kubrick as a topic to tackle?
Well, I was inspired to do this because Jeff, in his past life as a writer at Entertainment Weekly and TV critic, had written a lot about his love of Stanley Kubrick movies. Sometimes in pieces about Stanley Kubrick, and sometimes, at least once, in a piece about True Detective Season 2. It was always like
Mr. Robot.
Yes, yeah. Kubrick love.
Never have an opportunity to sneak in some Kubrick stuff.
What's the biggest stretch that you snuck a Kubrick?
I think that I made an argument that in Mr. Robot Season 2, the Ludwig von Beethoven bust in Mr. Elliot's hallucinatory home in his mom's house was a reference to a car.
Which frankly, this is the kind of criticism I love. That does make Mr. Robot Season 2 much better. I think, once you kind of factor
Even as a delivery system for references to other great pieces of art that you.
But this is also, I have to say, this is a long time coming for me personally. This represents, this episode is like an internal crossover in the Franich podcast cinematic universe. Because Clay, you and I, once upon a time, I was a co-host on the predecessor series to this, the Video Store show.
That's correct.
But before we ever casted pods, I was spending out with Jeff. We were doing Entertainment Geekly together. I was in New York. You were in Los Angeles.
That's right.
We did the Twin Peaks podcast, which may still return at some point.
Maybe.
So I'm staring. It's like I'm staring at my paths are colliding right now.
It's a big comic book crossover. It's Crisis on Infinite.
It's Crisis on Infinite.
That's all.
It's the end game.
You are seeing the star baby right in front of you. This is we're through the world. Well, I'm delighted that I can bring you guys here together. So Kubrick was, Darren, you thought, I'm going to bring out Jeff, and Jeff knows Stanley Kubrick backwards and forwards. Who better to bring into the ring?
A leading Kubrick aficionado.
Yes.
But I was also very inspired by an episode that was starring my near namesake, Darren, I'm forgetting his last name.
Sir Darren Navarro.
Darren Navarro, of course, and James Ponsoldt. I felt like that episode was so non-stop, full of like all-time film classics.
Right.
And I was kind of like, I want to do an episode that's like diving all the way into like the grand history of cinema. And I just thought,
because your previous episodes
have been great.
Have been great.
Have been indisputably great.
Perfect and unassailable, but very, full of like fun, poppy 80s genre type stuff. Much like a lot of our episodes thus far, because people love talking about those movies.
It's been playful, and tonight
you wanted to get serious
as well. Yes, no, I wanted to get brutally serious. There will be no fun in this episode. But no, I was just so inspired.
Yeah, like there will be no fun on this episode. Like because it's Stanley Kubrick, but also because this exercise is fraught with peril.
Yeah.
Like this could be a total disaster. This show could ruin it right now. I just want to let you know, because judging from just some of the comments on Twitter in response to the fact that we're doing this, like I realize that we can get this really wrong.
We can't. Well, even if we get it right, even if we do our job right, Jeff, I think that like the response from listeners will be like, okay, like there were 4 or 5 perfect movies on that list, and then 2 movies that I hate. And I feel like that's another cool thing about doing Kubrick in a way, is like I think even if you're someone who considers yourself a great fan of his movies, there's usually 1, 2, or 3 that just don't work for you at all, or that are severely flawed. And even in our kind of pretext, we didn't talk strategy, but I can tell there are movies that we may not quite Venn diagram over. I may view it in an incredibly positive way, and you might view it in an opposite way. I think that's really rare for filmmakers sometimes.
It feels to me that like it'll be harder to get 5 through 7 right than 1 through 4.
Yeah, you think 1 through 4 is the mistake?
I think you can't go wrong with 1 through 4. Like I think that you can go wrong with number 1.
Yeah.
But like 2 through 5, 2 through 4, it could be any number of films. 2 through 4, even 5. But 5 through 7 feel like I'm not gonna, I'm going to throw on that.
Because 5 through 7 is where like you or I may put down a movie that like a listener will grab their listening device and throw it across the room and then stomp on it and be no longer able to listen to the rest of it.
And Jeff touches on something interesting, which is when we do a broader topic, the 7, 6, 5, people kind of see those as sort of like the gimmies. They can kind of, you know, sneak in things that are more personal gigs. They can fuck around a little bit. Kubrick only has 13 feature-length release movies, so pretty much anything on this list is going to be an all-time classic in and of itself. I like a lot that at least Jeff is not approaching the higher-up films on the list as garbage time. That's going to be as stressful as.
So Jeff's always been a much more serious person than me. For me, 1 and 2, that's what the garbage time is.
And that would not be unique for this show. Sometimes 1 and 2 is where it becomes garbage time.
Oh, God. You guys are really setting yourself up. This is very daunting.
Ryan, how do you feel going into this?
I'm a little tentative. I mean, this is really weird.
Do you have confidence in our drafters?
I don't. Not after that preamble.
You always seem confident. Whenever I'm listening to the show, you seem confident. And then I arrive. It's like you take one look at me and you're like, oh,
Here's the thing, though. Like, I really do think, and, you know, I was in Vidians a long time. So there was always rankings happening. And Kubrick, first of all, is very nebulous. It changes all the time.
Yes.
These movies are constantly being revisited now, especially in the Twitter sphere. And I feel like you may get a lot of blowback if certain things are just not recognized.
There were films of his that were controversial upon release, then became less controversial and considered all-time classics, and now circle back around to being controversial.
Yes.
And then there are also there's this wild vintage that just cycles around.
And also, like Hitchcock, he has these. There's an amazing back catalog pre-Kubrick, you know, that I think is going to have to play into it. Because
what do you mean by that kind of catalog?
Meaning, like, you know, I don't want to get too deep into it, but pre-2001.
Right. There's very you know, most people, perhaps in a flawed way, discuss his career as there was pre-Strange Love and post-Strange Love.
Right.
Somewhere along the way with Strange Love, I think he has said that's the film where he had total control for really the first time.
Yeah.
And there is clearly an aesthetic shift that occurs.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you're either a late Kubrickian or you somehow find room for like 2 or 3 films before Strange Love.
And so to be able to compile all of these conversations into one list, I think is really not a very fun thing to do. And I am afraid for you. I feel like you guys should just like not look at Twitter for a little while after this is done. Yeah. And we come back after about a week or 2 and just see what happens. That's if I were you. That's just like look at the record.
And Stanley Kubrick also, so far on this show, does not have a very successful history. The Shining was not even included on the best Stephen King horror adaptations list because Billy Ray decided it wasn't a faithful enough adaptation and vetoed it.
And can I just say, Billy Ray, I'm coming for you, Dad.
Wow. Yeah.
I know he's listening.
Yes, he is listening.
He's probably typing me a tweet. I'm saying that's right now. But just to finish the thought, in texting with Jeff, because we were both sort of revisiting some of these movies we'll be talking about today, and we kind of came up with, like, there is the definitional debate, or the definitional shift from, like, film by Stanley Kubrick and Kubrick film, and, like, where that happens, and the extent to which, like, the one is better than the other, and the extent to which, like, is Kubrickness sometimes a problem in the films that are defined that way. I just think there are these interesting micro conversations that happen with each of the movies, really, because as similar as they can sometimes be, they're just so different. I mean, like, you know, you want to kind of tackle the broad themes and say they fall into the same category, but when you're talking about someone who was making films in the almost old Hollywood system right up to the year 1999, there's just such an interesting broad swath of film history to discuss.
Can I ask something about this process, which is maybe I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but in this very ambitious scientific effort to determine the 7 greatest Kubrick films of all time, is there room for just personal subjectivity? Because there are films that that I just have to say, that mean a lot to me in terms of just like as films, in terms of my cinematic education, in terms of a place and time, that I feel like were amazing for the place and time, but like maybe objectively, like I found myself torn when I was making my top 7 of wearing the should hat and the want hat.
I only have the want hat when I come to screen.
Exactly. And different players approach it with different. Some feel more duty bound to some sort of a larger cultural being like an arbiter. Speaking on behalf of everybody.
I don't want that
people,
obligation.
right. Some people come in like Darren and like our friend Billy Ray, who come in and say, I am exerting my personal influence over this. And that's the whole social experiment behind it, is you two are taking your personal biases and slamming them together and seeing what we get. This is not
In a sense, it's a courtroom, and you are arguing the case to basically, you know, to Darren.
Yes.
Who then kind of judges whether he's going to veto that or not.
And then you guys are the military tribunal.
But not really.
Only Kirk Douglas, the sniveling English French guy.
What's nice is there's not a lot of subjectivity when it's specific like this. It's like, hey, this is all these guys.
It's taking the things that are more subjective than anything else and declaring them objective. But it's not. That's what I love about this is not a curated. We didn't get together as a staff and decide on what's going to happen and give it to an editor and polished it and said, oh, well, this will get better in SEO. This is what you think needs to be on this list.
Got it.
For whatever reasons you hold in your heart.
And it represents collaboration.
Competitive collaboration.
Trademark sign.
Yes.
Trademark Clay Keller 2018.
Yes. Thank you, Derek, for reminding me to do that. I'll contact my legal representatives after the show. But this is a perfect segue into the rules. Screen Drafts is a serpentine-style draft. We're making a list of the 7 best Stanley Kubrick movies of all time. We've got Darren, we've got Jeff. They each have written down titles on index cards that they're going to hold in front of them as though they are cards in a deck of playing poker or your other card-based game that you enjoy playing. We determined the draft order by Ryan asking a trivia question. Whoever answers that question correctly gets to choose the draft order. If you choose to draft first, you get the 7th pick, the 6th pick, the 4th pick, and the 2nd pick. If you draft second, you get 5, 3, and number 1. So if you win the trivia question, it's up for you to decide if you want more picks, or if you want fewer picks, but you get to make that number 1 determination. Sometimes you don't trust the person on the other side of the table to get that one correct, and that's where that comes in to play. You each have a veto card. If someone puts down a title that you vehemently disagree with, you can veto it, and it strikes it from that spot, and the player needs to come up with a new title. However, that movie is not eliminated from the game as a whole. It could come back higher up on the list, so that's the risk you run there. If you don't use your veto, you can carry it over to the next time you appear, and you'll have a rollover veto. You'll get 2 vetoes. You can never have more than 2 vetoes, though. So, Darren, that comes into play specifically with you, because you are already booked to be on in a few weeks when we do our MCU draft. Right now, this veto you've got here, if you don't use it, actually, no, you have a rollover veto right now.
Yeah, Clay, minor correction on the internal canon of the show. I currently
you have a rollover veto.
Hold your penmanship for a moment, Clay. So I do have a rollover veto.
Yeah.
However, I'm placing that veto in a blind trust partially because I anticipate a very congenial draft with Jeff. No, take it back. Take it away.
No, I'm a stickler destroy the rules when I remember them, and you're gonna have 2 veto cards next year.
I consider this a congenial draft. I had not made it clear to Jeff that I had 2 vetoes when I invited him on.
Or else it would have seemed like an ambush.
It seems ungentlemanly to come to this duel with 2 bullets in my whatever the weapon was that we were using. Very rigid.
Well, Jared, but here's how this functions: is you have your rollover veto, you basically have a free veto, because if you save even one of those, you will have 2 vetoes going into the MCU draft.
Right.
So you've basically got a free space veto.
No, but if I use the 1 veto, then I use the other one, then I'll only have 1 going into MCU. And I feel the need to have 2 for that, because everybody else at that
That's why you want both of your cards. If you use one of them, you just hold them. I don't do a blind trust with vetoes. You have to hold them on. You gotta hold on to them. The temptation needs to be there.
Veto heavy. With your...
I'm so veto heavy?
I'm just saying, much like Redmond Berry, I am going to do the dutiful, dignified thing and not utilize the extra veto. And
it's very dignified of you.
And if I don't, if I pull Bullingdon, then that's going to be on me.
You're a little bit of a loose cannon. I just want to make sure that...
Desire for number 2 How do you even see that? That's impossible.
It's on Prime.
Is it in Desire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's wild. It was just unavailable forever, and now it's on Prime.
Okay, well, I was joking, but okay. Never mind. I'm holding on to the second.
No, I want the loose cannons to have the ammo, just in case. Okay, so you each have a veto. You can use those. There is a rule called the Commissioner Override, which will not be used on this draft by its nature. But normally how that works is if we have a topic that's something, say, I'm not going to give an example, but a topic that is broader and a player plays a title that one of the commissioners feels does not fall within the topic that we are discussing strictly enough, we can ask for a discussion of a commissioner override, and if the commissioners unanimously agree, that title can be stricken without anybody having to use a veto. But that's not going to be here, because if you try to play a movie that's was not directed by Stanley Kubrick, I don't think either of you are going to try something like that.
You're not going to do the one that is like half Kubrick, right? The one that's
One-Eye Jacks, or Bears, or Starting
or AI, yeah. AI was kind of the one that I was thinking of.
Oh, AI, I hadn't even thought about that.
I'm not going to play AI. I don't know if you're, for many reasons, because it's not good, but
yeah. And then
shenanigans in my part.
No shenanigans.
No shenanigans game.
What a jack.
Darren
off and running here.
Darren is promising congeniality and no shenanigans. So far, the ground rules for this one. We'll see how well we execute that. We also have a side game that Ryan and I participate in. This was the brainchild of Mr. Derek Franich over here. These are the commissioner predictions. And when we do a director's filmography, we do them in order. So Ryan and I have each filled out a card, not necessarily what we would choose in this draft, but what we think the final draft board is going to end up looking like. And we're going to go through and see if we get the right title at the right spot, we get a point, and it's added to our season-long running totals. Right now, I have 5 points, and Ryan has 7.
I feel like, listen to this, I feel like the prize should be...
We haven't decided on a prize yet.
Yeah, but I feel like the prize should be the other person pays for CBS All Access for the next year.
Because we share a CBS All Access account?
Yeah, and like, I'm really hating...
But Ryan, I don't want to get too deep into all of the subscription crimes we're committing, but I'm pretty sure you use my Shudder, so we're kind of even Steven on that one.
I hate paying for like, it hurts me so bad.
There's 4 more Star Trek shows. Hello, Dix.
We should do a draft of the movies that are available on CBS All Access. Are there like 16 movies you can watch on there?
That'd be fun.
Okay, let's get into it, guys. I know, Darren, I know you don't have any questions. Jeff, do you have any questions? Anything I didn't cover to your satisfaction?
Nope.
Are you ready to dive in?
Clear.
Let's get into it. These screen drafts, Stanley Kubrick, official draft. Ryan,
Yes.
have you a trivia question?
I have 2.
You have 2, in case we need a backup. Guys, first person to answer is to choose the draft order. Ryan, take it.
You must have both names. There is only 2 actors in all of Stanley Kubrick's directorial career that he allowed to do improv. be allowed to divert from the script.
Peter Sellers and Lee Emery.
Oh,
Peter Sellers and Lee Emery.
Man,
Ernie.
Ernie.
Arlie Ermey, yeah.
Arlie Ermey.
that was
Not a pot.
that was a good.
So which one are you going to choose, Jeff?
I'll take 1, 3, 5.
Okay.
All right, Jeff.
Howard, that's the right move. That's the right move.
Jeff?
Other people have gone in that's the wrong move.
Jeff gets the tricky question, elects to draft second, deferring the beginning of the game to Darren. So, Darren, is that the outcome you wanted, or did you also want the responsibility of having the top pick?
This is the outcome.
This is the outcome that you want.
Yes.
And you are prepared with that number 7 pick. Slide it over,
Okay.
and we will begin.
Okay. We're going to go off and running here.
So this is the outcome that you wanted. You were prepared for this. In your head, did you prepare a 7 and a 6 to start
I
the
did.
game off?
I did.
Okay, so you were caught off guard at all.
I prepared for both realities.
Gotcha. All right.
The other reality will now be known as the darker time. it's so weird to know that I'm in the right time.
What a comfort. A comfort that no one finds in the film that you've handed me.
Or any of these
Or any of these films. These are not, no one finds them.
Kubrick's romantic comedies.
Number 7. Darren starts the draft off with one of those movies you were referencing, Darren, that started controversial, became uncontroversial, and now is controversial again, I believe. A Clockwork Orange.
A Clockwork Orange. This is, of course, the film starring Malcolm McDowell in one of, if not the greatest leading performances in a Stanley Kubrick movie. He plays the teen miscreant Alex. First and certainly most famous part of the movie is him just going out, getting into all kinds of scrapes, the controversial material there. The Singing in the Rain, rape sequence, of course, all kinds of violence, a lot of listening to Ludwig van.
Ultraviolence.
Ultraviolence, and a lot of great NADSAT talk, the sort of like Russian-influenced slang that Anthony Burgess had created for the book. From there, the movie kind of expands and becomes all about Alex going through the system. He gets imprisoned. There's the probably, I think, the most famous or second most famous sequence of the movie when he goes through the Ludovico technique and is sort of, I think you might say, brainwashed into not being violent and not being a sexual monster anymore. And then from there, just things go downhill for them and they find uphill. This is a movie that I probably at one point would have said it was my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie. One of the interesting things that I discovered in getting to rewatch a lot of these films is realizing that as much as I tend to think of Stanley Kubrick as being a serious-minded and like capital A adult filmmaker, I realized that actually a couple of his movies I loved when I was a 13 or 14-year-old boy. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I think for a lot of people, there's a feeling of kind of discovery with this film and some other films that we'll talk about today. And I was not surprised to find out that this movie, for me, held up less well on rewatch. I think for a lot of people, it's maybe an unwatchable movie now in some ways. I will say, like, I think it has to be on this list because, for lack of a better word, and as much as there are conversations to be had about the material in the movie on a moral, philosophical, political level, this is kind of Kubrick's, like, fucking cool movie. It is just, like, watching it, it's astounding to just see scene after scene, sequence after sequence that is, like, incredibly vivid and belongs on a t-shirt, and the production design belongs in a museum. So, like, I think putting it on here, it simultaneously is a demotion and a promotion, I think, because I do still feel it is an incredibly vivid and tactile experience. And I actually found that watching it, many things in the final half hour of the movie, which I probably watched that stuff the least when I was constantly pulling out the DVD and rewatching certain scenes again and again. Those kind of concluding scenes to me have a whole new life now that they didn't used to have. So I want it on this list. I'm not sure if I want it higher. So I think 7 is a good place for it.
Jeff, how do you feel about A Clockwork Orange, and specifically at the number 7 slot?
I put Kubrick films in 3 different categories. There are masterpieces, there are masterful messes, and there are miscellaneous.
This
is a film that we think is a masterful mess. This is a masterpiece. And However, it's a really problematic list. And when I did this list, it was once at number 2, it was once at number 7, and it was once off this list altogether. Like, cause it's a movie that I wrestle with. It's a movie that makes you feel really uncomfortable. And intentionally so. I think it's an incredible cultural artifact in a movie of its time where, the ratings board had, like the production code had just been evaporated, and there's this sort of new Hollywood exploding, and they're experimenting with violence and sensationalism and really trying to like push what cinema can do. And A Clockwork Orange is one of these movies that indulges in that, but is also one of Kubrick's like meta-genre films where he seems to be commenting on the films of that period. And I think that in all the ways in which people have struggled with the film, I think are actually part of the questions that he's asking, which is like what are we putting in our heads? Can movies really be art? What kind of pop culture and movie culture are we creating? I'm fascinated in studying this film in which it's so filled with artists and art and stuff like that. And I just think the film is asking this question, like it's interrogating that romantic notion of art that can actually make us better people. And I think that Kubrick is saying, okay, well, in this new world where electronic media and screens are our new mediums for art, like, what's it turning us into,
Yeah.
When I watch this film, I just think about myself, and I think about my relationship with pop culture. I think about the stuff that I consume and how it's influencing me and shaping me. And I think at a time when we're more wired, more just consuming massive amounts of content, I think we should be asking, like, what does that do to us? And I think that Kubrick's film is ahead of its time in sort of anticipating a wired, content, like, gluttonous world, and asking these questions about whatever.
So do you want to leave it at 7? Vetoes can be used as a gambit to get things higher up on the list.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to ramble on about something else just there, but I'm going to say no, I'm not going to veto it.
Leave it there.
I'm going to leave it there.
I feel uncomfortable because I had a similar experience to what you're describing, with like thinking of it being up higher, pushing it down all the way off, and really almost to a certain extent. I think for me it came in 2 directions. First was, I do think there are just sequences in the movie that do not work. I think that certain aspects of the middle part especially are very broad in their satire, some of the performances, like the chief prison guard is just a character who I think that kind of falls under the kind of bargain sellers aspect of early Kubrick, where I don't love all that stuff, but I love everything you're saying about the wrestling with it, and that's why I think 7 is a good place for it, because it may be a film that I just think there's so much to rediscover, and even the fact that watching it again, I never fully cogitated that the end of the movie, the way Alex kind of becomes this symbol for all sides of the debate, the way he kind of gets trapped between the politicians and the scientists and the autistic class who comes in like right at the end, and the outcome of that is pretty astonishing. And I think, when people criticize the movie on a lot of, very legitimate grounds, or, is kind of really showing this and making it look fucking cool at times, is that a problem? The last 5 minutes of this movie are just fascinating, and the performance by the minister, that's a character who I never really, I think, properly understood when I was a young Dumbo watching this movie, thinking that, Alex's outfit looked cool, and then a milk bar looked cool, and now I just find like the mysteries of that element are still very rich at this point, even if some of the other stuff doesn't work so well.
I'm sorry, you can edit this part out as I fumble.
It happens all the time. I was thinking, the thing with me, I've not seen it in a long, long time. Probably since high school. You guys were talking about this, and it reminded me of rewatching a bunch of Verhoeven movies lately, and it kind of feels like Verhoeven must have loved this movie.
Absolutely.
He took on this, and that is all he did through the 80s, into the 90s, and beyond.
And was this a film for you, Jeff, that was like, when you were younger, or when you first saw it, did it register very highly? Because again, for me, this was a DVD watch and rewatch, and this was a like multiple T-shirts that I had were probably Clockwork Orange related. Was that where did this really get your initial kind of?
Yeah, I was captivated by it from the moment that I could watch it because I mean it had that reputation. Right? It was the R film that was actually used to be an X film.
Banned in England until he died.
Yeah. And had that kind of naughty reputation to it. So when you're watching it, you know, as an adolescent, as I watched probably 17, I had a, it's a movie that has meant more to me as I've become a more mature person. The strong content requires a strong mind to engage. And so I don't know if I appreciate it as much as I should have. I don't think I ever appreciated it on the level of like something like punk cinema, but I definitely got the sense that it was a very reflexive movie where it was asking me questions about the things that I'm watching and putting in my head and what it's doing.
Yeah, I mean, when he's watching the Ludovico film, and it's basically him and his friends, or like the people in their outfits, are doing the things they were doing in the first part of the movie. And that's kind of like the early days of like learning what self-reflexivity in cinema.
And when I watched it recently, when I watched it for this podcast, it did strike me as a surprisingly resonant film. This is where I would disagree with you. I don't think it actually feels dated. I actually think it's so weird and idiosyncratic that it feels timeless. It just feels like it takes place in a weird dystopian alt world where either some like conservative or liberal regime completely failed. I found myself thinking about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This is the society that happened after the 1984 regime fell apart. But anyway.
That's a code phrase for me, Jeff. That's making me think that I may have to this.
The idea of these strong liberal factions and strong conservative factions fighting a culture war with each other over things in the news, or through pop culture, and manipulating and the news, manipulating culture to their agenda and fighting through each other through that. I felt like that was very resonant.
No, I mean, even like that scene of him watching the films and the scientists kind of watching from it back. Like, I just feel like we live in a time now where every side of every moral aesthetic debate has now accepted the fact that film can influence morality and film can influence culture. And for good or for ill, we should do more to push this particular agenda or that particular agenda. And it's interesting seeing that. Again, those scenes just to me have a very new life. Whereas some of the 70s stuff, I think there are timeless Kubrick films. Certain elements of the design do feel a little more like an artifact.
Sure.
But not in a bad way necessarily, but just compared to some of those other movies that I think feel could have been made yesterday.
One of the things that we talk about with Kubrick is I often think about the relationship between his movies, the intertextuality, to use a really ridiculous word, right?
We had that other bingo card.
But this was his follow-up to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and 2001: A Space Odyssey has some equally sober, possibly even cynical things to say about human nature, but seems to end on at least a hopeful, prayerful note that we can master ourselves, master our technologies, master our medias, and actually try to become good, better, more evolved people. And that maybe had an ecstatic effect on the world culture, right? And then he makes this film right after it, which seems to be incredibly pessimistic about society and the ability of society and culture to cultivate good people. And I find it interesting that in the music store, for example, the sort of hub of pop culturedom, in the movie, you see a soundtrack album for 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's almost, I kind of wonder if Kubrick was taking himself down a peg, or he had this wild hope for what cinema and culture could be with 2001, and then Clockwork Orange is sort of the sour counter to that, full with pessimism. So I just that kind of begins kind of like a pattern where I think that Kubrick's films kind of keep on responding to the one that preceded it, and that will continue.
Maybe it will.
Well, I always think of that when I think of what Quentin Tarantino said about the first 15 minutes of Clockwork, where he basically said, that's what Stanley wanted to make, and then that was the rest of the movie to make. Like, it was that first 20 minutes was what he put his all into, and then the rest was making the rest of the movie. Also, to that point, I think of 2001 as like a great movie, and then there's that last 20 minutes that you just want, that you could just see like that's such a big part of why he wanted to make that movie.
Right.
So I kind of feel like those are connected in a lot of ways, and those are two like kind of sequences that in a weird way are mirror images.
Not the first time that Stanley Kubrick has given us a movie where like the first 30 minutes are like a short film masterpiece, and then the other one I was like, oh, what does that have to do? But yeah, the end of that first act of A Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell looking at us in the eye and going, "Vidi well, we know." What does he say?
Vidi well, my brother, vidi well.
Vidi well,
Something like that. Yeah.
I feel like that's like, are we feeding well? Is like I think is the whole message.
So it's staying on it.
It's
Staying at number 7, Darren's got a number 6 locked and loaded. All right, number 7, Darren selected Clockwork Orange. At number 6, he has selected the final film by Mr. Stanley Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut, another film from the 1999 canon. As you mentioned, Clay, the last film that he completed, he died right at the tail end of working on the movie. The film stars Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman as a married couple who separately go on an interesting journey over the course of the movie. It all kind of comes down to the fact that one night, after smoking some pretty serious seeming marijuana, Nicole Kidman's character reveals, surprise, surprise, she's a woman who's had sexual fantasies about other men. This astounds Tom Cruise. Listen, back in the 90s, a lot of men haven't really realized this about their lives yet, apparently. He then goes on a very dreamlike odyssey through a New York that doesn't quite look like New York, and it initially seems very after hours, and then it goes very Illuminati. This is a film that I think on some subtextual fake the moon landing level, I wanted to do this podcast so I could have an excuse to watch Eyes Wide Shut, because I haven't seen it since it was in theaters in 1999, which was the year that my brother was finally old enough to take me, his underage brother, to go see R-rated movies. Eyes Wide Shut, seeing it then, I was fascinated by it, and it went all way over my head as a teenager. But rewatching it this go round, I found it utterly fascinating, and even with aspects of it that leave me confused or just totally cold, there are a few sequences in this that I just think are totally astounding. Nicole Kidman's performance, I think, is in a lot of respects one of the great performances of like the modern age. She's not even really the main character, and she's in less of it than I remembered. But she has one scene early on, her kind of description of the sexual fantasy that is, it seems to me to be like a deepening of a lot of things that Kubrick had been working on and had never even really approached in his films before. There are scenes in this that I think are really fantastic. There are some scenes that I'm not sure if they work. There's a great interview you can find with Arlie Ermey, who is very close to Kubrick, where he claims that, like, towards the end, Kubrick called him and said, like, I think the movie's a total failure, and I think it's because I'm working with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. I'm not sure how I should trust that, but there are aspects of this movie where I wonder sometimes if the superstardom of his leading couple works against the movie as much as it works for it. So it's another kind of film to wrestle with, but it's one that we were talking about how some of these films age, and for me this one has aged remarkably well. It is one that I found just to be an even richer experience on the second go round. So it's a number 6. Jeff, how do you feel about that? Where do you stand on Eyes Wide Shut?
This pick is exactly correct. Eyes Wide Shut is Kubrick's 6th best film.
Would you have said that previously, or is that...
Nope. It's number 6 in the stack of cards. It's absolutely true. Absolutely. 2 things.
Everything else that we say that is subjective, but this is objective.
I started to write some ideas down about what I thought about this film. It turned into a 1.5-page essay. Could I read it?
Yes.
Sure.
Dramatically.
Before I do that, I want to tell a story about Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut was Kubrick's last film, and he died several months before that movie came out. And by that time, I felt like I was a hardcore Kubrickian, and this was an exciting cinematic event and also a very sad cinematic event. And but I was really, I wanted to be there opening night. But I never saw Eyes Wide Shut in a movie theater because Eyes Wide Shut happened to open on the weekend that I got married. And so my wife, lovely Amy, told me that, Jeff, we're going to do any number of things on our honeymoon weekend. We are not watching the adultery sex movie that says that calls into question the institution of marriage. We are not going to be doing that. And frankly, I actually don't know why you want to watch that. And I said, like, is it the fact that Stanley Kubrick is one of the great cinematic artists of our time, and that I have a responsibility as a, like, you know, pretentious Zenist to go see it? And she was, no. So I did not see Stanley Kubrick's last movie in a movie theater, and I did my best to honor the promise that I made to my wife to never see this movie, but I did commit like adultery on her in this regard. So one day in Toronto, in a hotel room, I watched it on Spectrovision. Wow! While visiting the set of Bryan Singer's Mixman. Wow! Yes.
Doubly illicit.
Doubly illicit. Doubly problematic.
How did that experience compare to? Was that the last time that you watched it before this go around?
I'd watched it a couple times before, and I was a little like this is a classic like Kubrick experience where, much like a couple other of his films, including The Shining, I was like, this is garbage. And then I watched it again a couple years later. I'm like, no, he's onto something. And then I read all of the Illuminati theories online about Eyes Wide Shut and said, oh, this is satanic. And I read some better reviews and some better writing, and then went like, oh no, this is good, this is interesting. And watching it again for this, it's a really beautifully made and deeply disturbing movie. So this is the little essay that I wrote.
Does this essay have a title?
It's just called Eyes Wide Shut. Or it might be called The Satanic Christmas Carol.
Was this written on a laptop or on your phone?
This is written on a laptop,
okay,
which was emailed to my phone.
Okay, gotcha.
Eyes Wide Shut. Kubrick's final film is a proverbial inventory of Kubrickian effects, specifically the effects of his post-Strangelove films. It's an odyssey narrative, a reflective labyrinth, a dream narrative, a self-reflexive meta-genre experience, pushing back on the value of the stories we tell ourselves, examining the experience of cinema itself. Tom Cruise is the archetypal Kubrickian anti-hero, a restless, flawed man with an unexamined self and dubious strategies for navigating life, questing for greater satisfactions and glories, only to be undone by the quest itself, losing everything gained except awareness of his fucked upness. Eyes Wide Shut sees society as a monolithic conditioning agent, populated with selfish individuals alienated from themselves, each other, and higher powers, should they exist. A story that suggests that human beings might be wired for transcendence, but refuse to build societies that faithfully minister to that possible design, that actually subverts that design. A story that questions the romantic ideal that art, nature, modernism, religion, etc. can make us better people. Like many Kubrick films, Eyes Wide Shut interrogates the idea of a true self in conflict with the inauthentic self, presenting people who become the parts they've been drilled to play, who become unreal or hyper-real, who become uncanny, who need to rehumanize themselves through extraordinary experience, revelation, or apocalypse. The title Eyes Wide Shut suggests sleepwalking, and many Kubrick's protagonists can be seen as sleepwalkers, but it also suggests Pauline conversion of a fallen soul who beholds life-changing revelation or refuses to be changed by it, or takes the wrong lessons from it, whose eyes are sealed shut as punishment, who fumbles around in darkness until either A, he submits to the painful truth, or B, he is swallowed up by his darkness for good. Is this okay so far?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in rapture.
Okay. Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie. It's Kubrick doing a Christmas Carol, actually. An idea I mentioned here about more obvious ideas, including all the fucking sex stuff. in order to make the argument that in order to make the argument that Kubrick is one of our most religious spiritual filmmakers, because his films aspire to religious experience and are coded with a biblical prophet's scolding rage from a faithless, wayward society. His practice of auteurism supports this contention and informs the movies themselves. Kubrick, the authoritarian artiste, overwhelms you with images and sounds, like some apocalyptic vision. He makes you feel his presence with a paradoxical strategy of absence. His deceptively impersonal aesthetic, goose with wildly subjective flourishes, his practice of adapting other people's stories, and his fixation with operating within existing genres over original material, which allows him to hide from us. His penchant for observing his characters at a godlike remove, keeping his intentions hidden in the moment, his meanings visible in retrospect, and even then open to interpretation, sometimes dependent on a correlation with past movies. Our experience of his movies are a struggle with them, often mirroring his character's crisis of meaning. Like all of Kubrick's late films, Eyes Wide Shut is meticulously crafted, sensationalistic in every sense of the word, and profoundly hot-cold experiences. It sucks you in, works you over, fills your senses, hot media, yet demands active engagement to understand it, to make it work, cold media. Eyes Wide Shut is often described as an erotic thriller, but there's nothing terribly sexy or exciting about this 2.5-hour waking nightmare about one shallow man's fraught, futile effort to cheat on his wife with any number of women, just because she once entertained a daydream of cheating on him with a hot sailor. Where the film has been, and will forever remain, most profound is in its depiction of a mundane marriage, and how Kubrick uses the institution of marriage to express one of his recurring themes, his skepticism about the innate goodness of human beings. And I'm struck by the early parts of the film in which the only reason why people do good things is because they're married, as if they have a code, you know? And I think that speech that you talked about, the Kidman speech, you know, when she kind of goes off and shares with him in an almost hurtful way, but very revealing way and vulnerable way, this fantasy she had, this one-day fantasy, this all-day fantasy of cheating on him and running away with him, is catalyzed by Cruise's character saying something like, that, you know, like, of course I trust you. I know you. You're my wife. You're the mother of my child. And she just laughs at this. And it kind of captures this idea of marriage in which, you know, especially after you have kids, that, you know, we suddenly stop being like alive and dynamic, unique human beings to each other. We're just defined by each other by these roles, and we're no longer relating to each other, maybe even know each other. So this idea that she stops at, like, you know me. Let me tell you how much you don't know me. Let me tell you this story. And this idea, which I think is one of the most like you don't expect this from a Kubrick film about relationships and people and love, where she says that she entertained this story of leaving him, cheating on him, at a moment when her husband felt most dear to her and tender to her. And this idea that, like, you know, as much as we can be in love with someone, we would blow it up for a night of hot sex with someone. Like that temptation is always there. That this movie is sort of like giving voice to that kind of stuff. It's, you know, this is a movie that kind of got really ripped at the time for, like, what does Stanley Kubrick have to say about love and marriage and relationship? But I thought that kind of stuff is actually really deep.
Well, because it seemed, I think if there was a knock on it at the time, it was this feeling of, like, this is sort of a funny-dunny movie. You know, it feels, in the context of that time, it felt even maybe a little old-fashioned. They kind of mentioned the erotic thriller comparison. But it is the, like, almost chaste erotic thriller. And I say that full well knowing that there's the orgy scene, which I can't believe I ever took that orgy scene, like, seriously? Because the women are all wearing thongs. Like, it's just, there's such a, like, cockeyed perspective on so many aspects of this movie. But I can't add anything to it that you didn't say in that beautiful piece, Jeff, except to say that, like, yeah, I sort of think that this is a film about, like, marriage. It's a film that, like, you know, when you are a person who is a younger film-loving person, you do gravitate to certain Kubrick films, and I just find it impossible to think that you could do that at that age. This is a film that I think more than any other, not that you have to marry, but just I think as a bit older and more experienced, I do think that he was using all of that. He was using his age and wisdom and the fact that he had just made so many great films at that time. I just think we're seeing this movie where it all comes together in such a way that could only be made then.
Right. This movie came out in 1999. It was his only film of the 90s. It's more than a movie about. It's just not about marriage. I think I think it is a movie about American culture. You know, the fixation with Christmas.
There's a Christmas tree in every place he goes into. Right by the doorway, there's
Christmas lights, Christmas stars, Christmas trees. And I wonder if Kubrick is interrogating. This is a movie about adultery. And the 90s, our president of the United States was Bill Clinton, who was like, you know, had a problem with adultery, had a problem with like with cheating on his wife. And I think it might not be a coincidence that the lead character of this film is named Bill. And I'm just kind of wondering if this is Kubrick kind of reflecting on an America that is trying to rationalize, like especially on the liberal left, like what does it mean that we have an adulterer like as our commander-in-chief, kind of like embodying, kind of like being the chief role model of our country. But regardless of all of that, this idea of America as a Christian nation, that is probably not living up to any of those morals, and in fact living sort of like a contradiction to them. I just kind of wonder if he's teasing us a little bit.
If he was interested in those themes, imagine what he would be making if he were around today.
So Jeff, do you have longer essays for numbers 5 through 1?
No. This sets a new precedent, and I expect from you an essay of similar depth and length for each of the Marvel movies we talk about.
Don't you worry. I've been in the last.
Unfortunately, that essay was actually I cut off the last 5 pages.
Oh no!
It was way longer than I thought. Thank you, Adele, for
Publish the essay. Publish the essay. Post it on Medium. Okay, it's at number 6.
It's at number 6.
Yes.
Jeff, you're up at number 7. Darren selected A Clockwork Orange. Number 6, Eyes Wide Shut. I can't add anything to that I was already said. Ryan, were there any tidbits that you wanted to say about Eyes Wide Shut?
One thing that I think I personally love about Eyes Wide Shut is that it is specifically Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman who were the couple of the 90s. And this movie, I personally feel, is the movie that broke them up.
Right.
That's my kind of take on it, is that they dove into the deep pool of artistic cinema, and they didn't make it out alive. I find it fascinating that he made both this and Magnolia in the same year. They both were released in the same year. Both movies, I think, again, he dove into the deep end of the pool and never really went back into that deep end.
Had those movies been more financially successful and more rewarded, do you think he would still be
I think you
in
look
that
at him and say, what were the returns for these movies? Eyes Wide Shut got pretty, like, shit on for quite a while.
For a movie that still supposedly, I believe, holds the record for the longest production cycle on any film. They were filming for 400 days or something.
But that's the other thing to think about, historically speaking, is that he hadn't made a movie since Full Metal Jacket. And so really, for such a vast majority of people, hadn't heard his name in a while, and it was a dusty, weird-ass Christmas movie. It came out at the end of the year as if it was going to be winning a lot of Oscars.
Summer movie, I think, wasn't it?
I thought it was a November movie. That's what I remember.
That's
not July.
It was July. Yeah. It was a different time.
So
a
Christmas movie in July.
A bizarre choice in a totally different way. Is there a time of year this could have been released when it would have made sense?
This could have been in that Robin Dragon Tattoo Christmas Day slide. The whole family.
The feel-bad movie is Christmas, as the tagline for that movie went. I was shocked. I hadn't seen it in a theater until they played it in this theater that we're sitting in right now. They played it here a couple months ago on 35 when Leon Catalogue was here as a guest, and it shocked me how well it played as a crowd movie. The crowd was. I also came and saw 2001 here. I came and saw Shining here, and of those three, the crowd was more engaged. I heard more like people like murmuring, and people like more full-throated laughter. It's like great.
Which is some scenes, because like certain sequences that I just forgotten about that now I think are just so incredibly
very funny.
Like when he goes to see the guy who's just died, and the guy's daughter reveals that she loves him. Like that is an incredibly funny scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes down to the actress and to like his insane reactions. Like, oh, well, like, what does he say? It's like, oh, well, like, Wisconsin is, he says, Michigan's a beautiful state. As her father is lying dead, you're like, just there has to be a lot of dead comedy.
Oh, yeah. It played great.
That's fantastic.
It went over like gangbusters. Jeff, do you have, hand me, discreetly, your pick for number 5? Right. Oh, we're doing abbreviations. I looked at it, I was like, oh, I should be able to figure out most of these. All right. Number 7, Darren selected Clockwork Orange. Number 6, Eyes Wide Shut. Number 5, Jeff's first pick, FMJ, Full Metal Jacket. Jeff.
I like your face.
Darren's ready to hear what Jeff has to say.
Full Metal Jacket came between The Shining and Eyes Wide Shut, and it was late to the party of Vietnam movies that kind of saturated culture in 70s and 80s. When I watch Full Metal Jacket, I mean, like, first of all, that first 30 minutes, that first act is just amazing. I mean, like, right up there with some of the best thing that Stanley Kubrick has ever done, and it is an overwhelming experience of images and language. You know, hearing the drill sergeant played by Lee Ermey just kind of like just out of the gate, like pounding you with that vulgar, degrading, dehumanizing pulp poetry that he's just using to drill those guys, and then just asking us to we're just overwhelmed by it, and just kind of building to sort of the shattering I am in a world of shit conclusion. You know, it is just very on the nose, you know, Kubrick theme of, like, you know, society dehumanizing the individual, culture dehumanizing the individual, and to what end? And that, you know, that, yeah, war is hell when it begins at a boot camp. And then,
goodbye, my sweetheart. Hello, Vietnam.
and just like the opening shot of shaving off all the hair of all those guys, and just the sad look in their face. And if you think of it as a 60s film or a comment on 60s, and you think of hair, and you think of the illusion of hair to kind of like, you know, hippiedom, and then that sort of idealism, the idealism of the 60s, and then watching all that hair get shaved off and then turned into dehumanized, like you know, like soldiers that go off and kill for Uncle Sam, allegedly for freedom. I mean, it's just like, the images are powerful, the metaphors are powerful, they're on the nose to like a hammering degree, but they're incredibly powerful. And then there's the rest of the film. Yeah. And I know that a lot of people find the rest of the film deeply problematic, or not deeply problematic, but just kind of like, except for maybe the last act. That last assault, going after this sniper, is incredibly thrilling and incredibly scary. And I think that, like, that the final moment where Private Joker has to decide whether or not to shoot her, I do feel the moral and spiritual weight of that choice. Like that really means something, and you're asked to kind of reflect on it. I think it's incredibly powerful. The production design, the images of Vietnam that he creates, are just striking. The burning buildings, the rubble, all of that. Like, it's just it's kind of like dystopian porn. I mean, it just, in terms of like,
it doesn't look like any other Vietnam.
Right.
I mean, you know, it was shot, I think, pretty close to where he lived in the UK.
That's right.
And yeah, like, I think you're so right about the dystopian look of it. I mean, it feels like it's just like all humanity has been burned away from it.
Right.
Like it literally could be anywhere because the there factor of it has been totally destroyed.
Yeah, yeah. I think that for me though, it's not a Vietnam film. I mean, it's technically about Vietnam, but it's ironically about Vietnam. And I think what it's about is it's a very ironic film about irony. And this idea of irony as an operating system for how to navigate a life and a world and a culture that is sort of like meaningless, you know, or dehumanizing, and just Matthew Modine's performance as Private Joker has been kind of criticized and he's hard to access, but I think he's incredibly meaningful. I mean that, you know, like from the very beginning, he's just trying to survive this whole experience, to hang on to some kind of sense of self through this sort of like he's gonna ace the whole trip, like the whole boot camp thing. He's gonna like do everything well. He's gonna become a killer. But he's like quietly, through sort of this sort of ironic detachment, holding on to himself, and kind of like, you know, builds to the, you know, the great joke that he levels against the drill sergeant. He goes like, you know, the drill sergeant's like giving out the orders at the end. He goes like the signs of the stars and stripes. He goes like says, you're a writer, or like whatever, and like you're not a writer, you're a killer, you know, and like. But it kind of lands as sort of this devastating punchline, as if to say to this guy, you didn't break me down, you didn't destroy me, like I held on to myself, you know. But through this sort of like cultivated, like, you know, ironic detachment and this sort of sense of humor. And then the rest of the film, though, is about him sort of like seeing how far that's going to take him and challenging it. So I think about this film as coming out in the 80s at a time when like irony is becoming a very mainstream thing, right? Like irony was the very kind of hip kind of disposition to have, and irony as sort of like a default setting for the post 60s and post 70s America that sort of like was questioning itself and questioning what America even meant.
Of which he was a part of. That's what's kind of interesting. I mean, he was part of that during the 60s and 70s, you know, in a way with what he was making.
Got it from both sides.
Yeah, so it's interesting with Full Metal Jacket, where I feel like he's kind of commenting.
It seems like these are guys who saw Doctor Strangelove in the theater and loved it, and now they are. I don't know. I totally feel what you're saying. And sorry.
Yeah, so I'll turn it over and I'll stop talking in a second. But so how I interpret the film is that it's not about Vietnam. It's about like a guy who develops an operating system for how to navigate the wasteland of postmodern American culture, and then how far that gets him.
For me, this is a movie that I think there are like 3 perfect Stanley Kubrick movies. This is one of them, so I would have put it a little higher, but I think I'm okay with where it is. The one thing that I would add to everything you were saying was rewatching this movie a few years ago. This and Clockwork Orange were my like teen Kubrick movies. Like I had like that great Kubrick set that had all the things, and this is probably after Clockwork Orange the one that I most often would be like, I'm gonna put it in, and very frequently would do either let's watch the first half hour, the first boot camp piece, or the sniper sequence, just because it is so exciting and thrilling and ultimately horrifying. This is one that rewatching it grew for me because I kind of think that we're approaching a point where people are going to realize that there's been not a misreading of Stanley Kubrick, but maybe a too simple iconographic take on him. Because people often think that he's a very cold and inhuman and mechanistic director. And maybe he's making films about that, maybe he is in fact that way. Certainly, you compare him to someone like Spielberg, you would say, like, well, it's a little less fun than some of the other films being made are. And this is a movie that I just feel like there's an incredible depth of humanity to it in every scene. And there are characters who, as much as I think you're right about the irony that they're approaching things from, you're always very aware that there is a deep well of emotion there. I'm forgetting the actor, but the guy who plays as a cowboy, who's Joker's friend, he has just some moments that are incredibly human and raw, and you know, as much as there are people. No, Adam Baldwin plays Animal Mother. I'm so embarrassed that I forget who plays Cowboy. He's a director in his own right. He's so good. Animal Mother, I never even connected it to what you're saying about the 80s, Jeff. But Animal Mother almost seems like he's the invention of like the 80s action hero. Right? Like he's like he is sort of, you know, witness Rambo in Vietnam. Like there's the one scene where Animal Mother is running towards the block of buildings and is firing the chain gun.
Yes.
And it's this impossible scene where like he's firing it and there seem to be bullets everywhere all of a sudden. Like it's just fascinating how all these things are interacting. So I mean, I'm gonna put it higher, but I'm really happy that it's here. Because I think that the movie films will disagree on more prominently coming up, and I just think that everything you're saying about it is really, really accurate. Yeah, I think I'm good with that.
And it does, so locked in at number 5, I think it does, Jeff, you mentioned that there are several Kubrick movies, you said, have a perfect short film sequence, and then there's the rest of the movie. I think generally this is the movie I think that most people think of when they think of that type of thing.
And I think so many aspects of the Vietnam sequences are incredible. And again, to think about themes from these movies we're talking about.
Well, not even just in terms of quality, in terms of like it's a very bifurcated. That the boot camp thing is a very like isolated.
He was bifurcated before Lynch made it cool. But I mean, even like the last scene of this movie,
the
like
Mickey Mouse scene.
Oh my
gosh!
I mean, like I watched that this go round. With Disney having just recently acquired a film studio and becoming like moving ever closer to just being the film studio or one of them, and I was just kind of like I jotted down in my notes, my rambling notes that never made its way into a full essay. Like, is this Kubrick's portrait of 21st century man? The violent military-industrial complex that is singing Disney songs to themselves, like. The guys who go home are going to be like raising kids who buy Disney things, and like, you know, obviously that was his intention, but it's an example of how just so many things in the movies never breathe beyond their own time.
Next time you watch it, like track Mickey Mouse throughout the film, right? So when the drill sergeant goes into the bathroom to encounter, to check in on like what the hell's going on with like Private Pile going on and on, he enters the bathroom going, you know, what is this Mickey Mouse shit? Yes. And then when we get to Vietnam, and we get the scene of like, you know, Matthew Modine with Private Joker in the newspaper office, the Stars and Stripes office, and he's given his marching orders to basically go check out this sort of like atrocity or this mass killing that occurred somewhere else, and this kind of sets him on this path that gets him swallowed up by that white platoon. He's framed by 2 Mickey Mouses in the background.
Oh, that's right.
So and then by the end, like he's what is that scene at the end where they're marching through these blasted lands on fire and like singing, you know, the Mickey Mouse Club theme song, like this, or you know, it's just.
I had a whole superhero thing where I was like, you know, all the soldiers have nicknames.
That's
soldiers as superheroes. It connects back to like Marvel, Disney.
When I said that Kubrick does like these meta-genre films. I mean, this film comes out in 1987, and so I think he's like pushing back on a lot of the ideas of Vietnam films that are like exploring things like the duality of man. I think he's kind of crapping on that idea. I think but it's also the action hero decade, and then, you know, everyone who went to Vietnam, if you watch that awesome Ken Burns documentary on this idea of like people who went to Vietnam, if they were drafted against their will, or they actually thought they were going to go and become heroes, and like here are all these people. So he captures that.
Right? Constant John Wayne impression.
Oh my gosh, terribly bad.
All right. Darren, it sounds like you need to make the room 237 a Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, like
find all the Mickeys. Like a true Disney fan, when you go to Disneyland, you gotta find all the hidden Mickeys.
But also, what I will say is, as much as I love that aspect of the movie, on rewatching it, what I feel most sincerely about it is like the human story. That like when you cut right through it, it's in some ways his most humane movie, I think. because it is just so rigidly focused on these guys. And as much as, like, you know, if you first watch the movie, you're kind of like, oh, compared to some of the two, compared to some of the war movies of that time period, it seems less emotionally invested in them. I don't know, after watching so much of it again, and something like Platoon just seems oddly synthetic to me, which I, you know, Stone was actually in Vietnam, and it has that autobiographical aspect of it. But I think with Kubrick's best films, there is that aspect of, there's the meta-genre thing Jeff's talking about, with like, well, he did this, and now every other version of it seems a little lessened sometimes. Not with all his movies, but with some of them.
With some of them. Well, Darren, at number 7, you selected Clockwork Orange. Number 6, Eyes Wide Shut. Jeff got on the board there at number 5 with Full Metal Jacket. And Darren, I think at number 4, you've selected, I would argue, another one of his more humanist films. The movie I just saw for the first time the other night, Paths of Glory.
Paths of Glory. This falls under the camp of film directed by Stanley Kubrick that is maybe not often considered a Kubrick film. It is a film that begins in World War I. We are on the front following the French side. The French characters largely played by American and British actors. There is the plan in the first act of the movie that they are going to go and take over an encampment by the Germans. I'm forgetting what it's called right now. It's not the Nut House. The Anthill, thank you. The Nut House would have been good too. Kirk Douglas is the kind of battalion commander who's tasked with doing this. It's an impossible task. He knows it. It seems to be a very vague thing sent down from various upper-level generals. The battle sequence is certainly what this movie is most famous for. It is sort of essentially, if not the invention, it's sort of the initial perfection of the kind of handheld, gritty mentality of war filmmaking.
It does that great thing. It has it fools you a little bit because it opens and it feels like a charge you've seen in a million old war movies. It almost feels like the charge in Quite on the Western Front, or just where it's just tracking left to right and people are running, but then he'll cut in
it's
to
both.
the handheld.
It's both because it's the handheld stuff, to your point exactly, which, I mean, the handheld stuff, Spielberg was doing it later with Saving Private Ryan, and frankly did not improve on it, and was only doing that in that movie. Paths of Glory, get to that scene, and then the movie still has another hour to go, and it becomes entirely about the fallout from it. And this movie, like a lot of others, I think, it's a stealth missile because the scene that you might consider most iconic upon rewatch, you know, the material in the last half of the movie is kind of following, you know, again, essentially as an act of commandatorial vanity. The man who's in charge of the battalion above Kirk Douglas says, like, you know, the guys retreated, they should have retreated. It becomes a little catch-22, like, you know, if it was impossible for them to take the base, then they would have died in the act of doing it. They retreated. One batch of soldiers never even got into no man's land. They stayed in the trenches. He decides that 3 men have to be made an example of, put on trial for cowardice, a total public trial, and they'll maybe be put to death. And I'd say this movie, I've only seen it once before. Watching it again, it's such a complete knockout. I do think it's one of the other perfect Stanley Kubrick movies. It's very short. It is, on one hand, it kind of has all of the kind of chaotic, darkly satiric aspects of his work that appear later in his films, but there is also a really profound humanity to it. Stuff that I think I would have once said was sentimental, that I now think is actually totally essential, and that in some respects I miss in the later movies. You know, this is the movie that kind of famously ends with, after a lot of truly horrible things have happened, and there's the obvious horrible thing, there's the subtle horrible thing when you see very clearly what the generals think of the people who are in their charge. There's the scene of future Mrs. Kubrick coming out to sing the German song for the French soldiers, and their reaction to it. You know, that's a scene that when I was younger, I think I would have said, like, that's kind of lame. Like, you know, that works on me less than the stuff in those later movies. And this go-round, it worked on me much, much more. I'm not sure if I'm just an older, more sentimental person. I think, if anything, there's a depth to that scene that sometimes was elusive in these later movies, when there was a coolness at times.
But even that scene is the sentimentality of it is fraught and complicated.
There's a lot going on.
Because the girl is terrified and she's essentially been kidnapped. And who knows what has happened to her. Previous to this scene, she comes out, tears in her eyes, and they are hooting and hollering and then they eventually start humming along with her, and then they're crying.
They leave no words. We just find the two.
But also, she's still terrified of them, and it's very
And there's no happy ending at all. And I just think this is, I'm putting it at 4 because I truly don't know what Jeff thinks of it, and I do want this movie to be on here somewhere. For me, it would rank a lot higher, but this is definitely a emergency. Put it down now when there's still room for some shenanigans.
You're exposing a little bit of your game strategy here. Jeff, how do you feel about the movie, and do you want to leave it there? And I mean, considering what Darren has already admitted to about his grander plans.
Sounds like he's going to put it higher if I veto it, huh?
That's what he has implied. Yes.
So I was wrong. The first top 5 are harder than the final 3.
I love Catalogue. I really do. And I do love like a shout out, by the way, to the actor, great Kubrick actor, by the way,
who plays one of the 3 soldiers.
Yes.
I'm looking him up.
Oh, the guy who was in the killing.
Yes.
Yeah. He's an incredible performer, and he's still alive, in fact.
Timothy Carey.
Yeah, Timothy Carey.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, he's great.
I want to I immediately I discovered him through this rewatch. You know, his character in The Killing is like total scuzzball creep, but like a nice accent to that movie, and then completely different here in this movie, and he's really affecting. And it sounds like he was one of the great, odd character actors of the 60s and 70s. I want to know all about him.
We're not talking about it, but yeah.
And that ending, when I said that, in my blah, blah, blah about Eyes Wide Shut, and I talked about this idea that people are wired for transcendence, I think about the ending of Paths of Glory as a very simple dramatization of that. This idea that these soldiers who have been, are just loutish men / dehumanized by war, and then this woman's simple song kind of stirs something in them that makes them feel, that makes them more human, that makes them even more than human, that does something for them. I think that Kubrick really believes that this idea that he's super cynical about human beings, that he thinks that we're all a bunch of animals or whatever. I don't actually think that's true. I think that he thinks that we're clearly wired for some experience like that. So he's questioning then a culture or society that if we're wired for that, we can transcend or feel like that. Why don't we have a society that cultivates that? Does that make sense? I think that's a really beautiful and poignant moment. I do love the film for everything that you said, but I don't feel that in terms of an expression of pure cinema, or some of the ambitions that he's chasing, later on in this film, which are just so much more grander and more powerful and potent, that there are parts of the movie that feel this is a TV movie. I mean, in terms of just the cinematic quality, sorry, it feels that way. But it also, compared to Hollywood's
Have you seen the Criterion?
I do love it for its humanism.
How do you feel about the Kirk Douglas factor in the movie? Because I think that's another interesting
I love Kirk Douglas in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this movie makes me love Kirk.
I feel the same way. This is because previously I would have said that this is still Kubrick working within someone else's power structure to a certain extent.
Right.
But I do think that this is to think of utilizing a movie star in a way that is quite impotent in a way. It echoes to me in a totally abstract fashion the use of Tom Cruise as a palpably impotent character in Eyes Wide Shut. I think we have Kirk Douglas in this movie. He's a commander who cannot successfully lead his men to victory. He's a lawyer who cannot win his case. And I just think that is a fascinating aspect of it as well. But so
I saw a lot of Kubrick in this. I went into it under the assumption that's this is the Killer's Kiss, this is the Priest, Strange Love, there's going to be maybe glimpses here and there, but even the way, it has all of the great satire that came to greater fruition, at least, or came to the forefront of something like Strange Love. The way it opens, where the guy who becomes the villain of the movie, when the top general's like, we won't take the anthill. He's like, well, surely we can't do that. That's impossible. He's like, well, we're going to do it. And then the guy who protested at first becomes the main villain.
That scene
pushing the whole
has one of
thing.
the most incredible, like, single shots of any Kubrick movie when he's sort of the main general, played by, I believe, Adolf Menchu,
Yeah, that's
correct out loud. He's told him, by the way, unrelated to this order I'm giving you, we're thinking of making you a member of this super exclusive club.
Yeah.
Don't let that influence you. There's a scene where they're in this incredible, like, discreet charm of the bourgeoisie, huge, like, mansion where
That huge office, I mean, all of them.
and like, we're following them. They do this incredible, almost like dancerly move where the camera follows them as they go in a circle. They're walking in this circle, and it's so subtle how it happens. You don't even realize it's happening the first time.
Yeah.
But by the end of the circle, he has totally reversed himself. It's just
You see so much Barry Lyndon in that. That's the first time I noticed. I also watched Killer's Kiss and then The Killing before this. But you start to see where Kubrick loves to do these like slightly above eye angle, like wide shots where you can see people's feet on the floor and see the ceiling.
Yeah.
He loves this stuff. You rarely see like a medium wide from Kubrick. It's always that huge wall ceiling. The ceilings are 25 feet.
Same with Barry Lyndon, but I mean, it's Kings when it comes to Judge Jensen.
I think, and the satire and the strains of cynicism and the bursts of hope. Like, I think there's a lot of more Kubrick in this movie than I was expecting, and I thought that it was very interesting to see what kind of sprung in different directions.
I totally agree with that. I mean, there are some shots there that, like, the tracking shots through the trenches, and just the execution scene and the trial scene and the staging that. And you're right, that that long shot where we're watching the choreography there, we're walking. It is.
What are you going to do? You're going to get on. Oh my gosh, this is great. Even with that Barry Lyndon reference that Clay
Are you leaving it on because Darren convinced you, or are you leaving it on because now this is evidence that you feel you may actually need that veto?
There's Darren's list, and then there's my list, and then there's the list that we're building. And I like Paths of Glory smack in the middle of it all. Like, I think that there's something meaningful about that.
I think it's certainly going to be an unexpected pick. Well, Ryan, what do you think of Paths of Glory? I expected it maybe at the very come up at like 7, maybe in the middle of the list. Where do you go beyond the middle of the list? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm shocked by it. It's a shocking addition. I don't know. I'm kind of getting used to it, but I don't know. There's also movies that I'm very afraid I'm going to be on there.
There are.
That I'm just shocked that you guys are going there. But hey, your list. I like the Full Metal Jacket Paths of Glory like duality though. I feel like they both go unless I also like that they kind of are together. I find that there are two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely.
Are you implying that if I veto this movie, it would wind up at number 2 on this list?
I don't know. It's possible.
this bluffing will.
It certainly is possible. I mean, on one hand, you could say I'd be crazy to do that.
Yes.
And there are films that you know for a fact I love that I want to see on here.
Right.
On the other hand, I have said it was a perfect movie. On the other hand,
is there a number 2 that Darren? You said you don't like Barry Lyndon. Do we know?
Let me tell you. Because I dare you to put that at number 2.
Oh no! You got it. Okay. Well.
So I was going to say, I think you've got ahead of me, Jeff. Are you worried that he might try to put Barry Lyndon at number 2 and you would prefer a Paths of Glory at number 2?
No, because Barry Lyndon is my number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just revealing all kinds of game strategy here. Okay, so Jeff put down a veto at number 4. Darren, so Paths of Glory got removed back into your deck. Jeff has also just said that at number 3 he intends to place Barry Lyndon, which you thought he didn't like for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in print and via text.
I might have set him up.
Wow.
Well, Barry Lyndon was a discovery for me in this process.
Okay. We'll talk about that soon.
Okay. Well, that got That one blew up really fast. Okay, let me get caught up. So Darren at number 4 played Paths of Glory. We had a nice little discussion about it. Jeff decided at the last possible second to put down a veto. So Paths of Glory.
We talked about it for too long.
Paths of Glory. Yes, sometimes if you want to just get it in there, you gotta say your piece and move on. Okay, so Darren has come with a replacement number 4. Jeff, you're out of vetoes. So everything that Darren plays from here on out stands. Darren, just to get everybody in the same place, you still have 2 vetoes. You've declared that you're going to save one in your blind trust. We all know what good blind trusts are these days. Okay, number 7, Clockwork Orange. Number 6, Eyes Wide Shut. Number 5, Full Metal Jacket. And number 4, this one's going to stand, Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon, which I almost put it back after Jeff's revelation there, but I felt the need to put it down now for a lot of reasons that we may or may not get into. Barry Lyndon is the film that stars Ryan O'Neal as Redmond Barry, a kind of fellow, let's call it cannibal, shall we say, gallivanting around Napoleonic War era Britain. Wait, no, is it Britain? No, it's it's Britain. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting all my.
They're all speaking English.
I'm getting all my what are British people playing other things and when they're playing. But it is one of the most beautiful films ever made. His adventures are filmed in what I think is really the peak of Kubrick as a pure creator of images. There are scenes that truly do feel like paintings of the era brought to life. And the reason why it's always really stayed with me, partially just because there are moments that are just so tremendous. The final duel scene, I think, is almost kind of like the definitive word on suspense. And I'm not even sure that it's meant to be suspenseful so much as there's meant to be so much more going on in that sequence. But when I think about Kubrick and I think about his project, his ongoing project as a filmmaker, I always think about the fact that in the making of Barry Lyndon, he felt the need to essentially invent or at least utilize semi-futuristic technology, getting cameras that had been used by NASA in space, in order to film sequences by candlelight. And to me, that always gets at the complexity of Kubrick, that he did something so intensely technological and innovative as a method to deepen our proximity to the human characters, that on some level it would have felt synthetic to him to film these scenes using, unnatural light. And those scenes are beautiful, and those scenes are astonishing in a lot of ways. But I just find that to be the most enthralling aspect of the movie, that as much as, it seems, and I know a lot of people feel this way, that it's his most sort of like synthetic movie. People are just moving like they are, pre-robotic automata through these incredible tableaux. I think the more you watch it, the more the humanity shines through, very similar to what we were talking about with Full Metal Jacket. So it's a number 4. But Jeff, we got to talk about this. I thought this was the one that you were less hot on.
It's a comedy with all the wrong pacing, which is what's fascinating to me. It came out the same year as Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and I feel like they are sibling movies. When I saw it for the first time, I was just struck by how there are these scenes that are absurdly funny and truly absurd, and then just long vistas and long battles and then the suspense at the end. Of course, he's an immaculate filmmaker, but yeah, it struck me how funny it is and how preposterous. But Jeff, I'm very curious. Darren was under the impression that you disliked this movie to the extent that you would look poorly on Paths of Glory just by being associated with this movie.
Well, when Darren threatened to put basically Paths of Glory at number 2, which was the implicit threat of what he's that was on the record, right? I worried that Paths of Glory at number 2 would produce a more compromised list than Paths of Glory at number 4. So I basically vetoed it to save us.
Save us from ourselves. So with Barry Lyndon, because you had texted that there was a bit of a discovery on this go around. What was your experience with this movie previously, and what was this go around that made you want to put it even higher than it is on this list?
Well,
before I answer that, I do feel bad that, well, never mind. Like now I wish that maybe Basil Glory should have been number 7. But I'm wrestling with this. I'm wrestling with this.
We have time for regrets once the entire list is built here.
For all the reasons that you said, I mean, but in some ways, it's his most complex movie, but also his simplest film. I mean, just in terms of the portrait of this guy, and the meaning and meaninglessness of his life as and to say that a guy like this is worthy of a historical epic, that in the historical epic genre is a pretty profound statement about, like, you know, people and society in general. But the first half of this movie, you're kind of really sympathetic with him as this, he kind of begins this as this sort of this idealist and this romantic, and he's in love with his, like, cousin, but as almost as a sort of like pure chase, like aesthetic love. He wants to be that guy, you know, he wants to be super romantic, but she is already kind of like saying, like, no, no, that's not the way the world works, Barry. Like, you know, like, she's more carnal, but she's also thinking about society and survival and security, and that's the way of the world, and that's the way that the world always operates. So, like, broken-hearted over, like, not being able to be that guy, he's just sort of tossed by fate and destiny as he sort of, like, tries to survive, but try to hang on to some kind of humanity. He's just trying on identities and all of that, and just working his way to some kind of life, some kind of, like, identity. We can all kind of relate to his struggle, right? And then he marries, and he marries well, and then he becomes, like, you know, Lord Roddenberry, or no, not Lord. He's not a lord. That's a very important point. He does not ever become a lord. But he gets this security by marrying this woman and having her money, and then he just becomes like a terrible, terrible human being, you know?
Especially because, to me, like, the film it most relates to, in a maybe a tangible way, is like Brandon Palmer's Scarface. But it's a version of that where, like, because in the movie Scarface, like, when Al Pacino becomes, like, the head cocaine god of Miami, that's when, like, there are scenes in the movie where he seems the coolest to you, you know? Like, those are the really, like, truly iconic moments of him being in charge. And in this movie, it's kind of the opposite, because when he achieves this good marriage, and when the wealth is kind of all around him, that is when he is the most remote figure in the movie. And it's almost, you know, it's like the grind of age and time is so astonishing to see this person who you kind of thought you were rooting for. Suddenly is, you know, it completely refocuses you.
And then, that moment where he's driving in the buggy with his wife, and he's smoking. And she's like, "Can you please put that out? Please put that out." And then he turns to her and she blows the smoke away. His face is like, just that little gesture was just like, oh, like my feelings for the characters turn on him so completely. And then his mom comes along and puts a thought in his head, which is that, you know, if she dies, like, you get nothing. You lose everything. You're gonna lose everything, and you're gonna be poor. And then comes this sort of like mad struggle for permanence, and immortality, if you will, by becoming a lord and shore himself up, and that just like corrupts him and his family. And I don't know, it kind of felt like it was this like pretty potent cautionary tale for like, you know, a meaningless life.
I just think it's interesting too, because I always think that by the time you get to the duel, you feel like I've seen this guy go on like such a journey.
Yes.
And his loss and the things he loses because of his own actions, the things he loses otherwise. And still, when he makes this decision in the duel to not shoot, when he does the thing that is the dignified, gentlemanly thing, I'm always kind of surprised by that. And that's the moment where I feel as if, you know, it's kind of the moment of, you know, Cruz being like, I never really knew my life, or I didn't know her the way I found her. Where it's just like, you know, Barry Lyndon, like Barry, do you think you know him? And there's something a little just fascinatingly closed off about him. And I think it speaks to the character building Cooper can do. You can see so much of someone and still be surprised by him. Yeah. So it's staying at 4. I think we're all happy with that.
It's definitely staying at 4. Yeah, it's a very interesting movie. I always like to mention, if you're a fan of Barry Lyndon, definitely check out Ridley Scott's The Duelist, which is, I think, a great companion piece that has a similar. It's much shorter and much more pointed in what it's saying. It leaves less up to the viewer to figure out. But it's a great weird comedy set in the Napoleonic era with a kind of a very similar visual palette, certainly inspired by her.
Awesome. Here we go.
That's it. I'm done. Peace. Peace.